Chapter 414. They were already prepared to go home. If not for Lenine suddenly revealing that her father was the boss behind the bar, which made everyone curious, they would have stayed for more than 10 minutes. 10 minutes, for the people in the bar, was just a blink of an eye. But for Zhao Pengju, who had lost so much face that he couldn't see anyone, it was undoubtedly a century of torment. Li Changsheng walked down the stairs. Before leaving, Tang Bo patted Li Changsheng's shoulder and said, "What a good physique. If I have time, I'll learn a few moves from you." Li Changsheng smiled and didn't speak. Jiang Tao said that he had called a designated driver and was waiting at the door. He had already made 2 phone calls, so he went out first. Li Changsheng and the others nodded. But after going out for 10 minutes, no one came in and the phone was turned off. Zhang Xiaofeng muttered, "Where did this kid go? Could it be that he was kidnapped by the designated driver?" When the word kidnapped came out, Li Changsheng was suddenly shocked and hurriedly walked out of the bar. He saw that the lights of Jiang Tao's BMW 7 Series were on, but the bright headlights just happened to be shining in the direction of the door, so he couldn't see the situation inside the car. Zhang Xiaofeng and Yang Fan, who followed Li Changsheng out, were about to go forward, but were stopped by Li Changsheng. He pretended to be indifferent and went directly to the window. Just as he bent down, he saw a black muzzle sticking out of the window, pointing at Li Changsheng's forehead. Inside the muzzle was an extremely cold face. Li Changsheng rolled to the back seat. The man pointed the gun at Li Changsheng and said. The door of the back seat opened, and a cold pistol was also sticking out. It was a man in a suit, and next to him was Jiang Tao, whose hands and feet were tied. Seeing that Jiang Tao was fine, Li Changsheng breathed a sigh of relief. Then, a cold light suddenly flashed in his eyes. His palms stretched out like lightning and pointed at the wrist of the man holding the gun. His pistol fell to the ground with a clatter. The man sitting in the front row hurriedly opened the door and rushed down. However, just as half of his body stretched out, Li Changsheng kicked him to the car door, and his head was squeezed by the car door. Just as he let out a scream, Li Changsheng let go of the foot that was kicking the car door. Then he kicked the man in the head like a football player. Under the powerful force, the man's head directly hit the car frame. Then he fell to the ground weakly and fainted. The guy whose pistol had been knocked out by Li Changsheng was just about to bend down to pick it up. A black shadow flashed, and the pistol appeared in Li Changsheng's hand. Then Li Changsheng kicked him in the chest and threw him into the back seat. Then Li Changsheng stuffed the cold muzzle of the gun into the other party's mouth. "Don't move, or the gun will go off by accident," Li Changsheng said with a smile. Cold sweat trickled down the other party's forehead. In the back seat, Jiang Tao whimpered. Li Changsheng directly took the gun out of the other party's mouth. Just as the other party breathed a sigh of relief, Li Changsheng suddenly grabbed his hair and pulled him out of the car. Then, with a fierce collision, he directly fainted. He bent down and climbed into the car to remove the tape on Jiang Tao's body. He asked with concern, "Are you okay?" Jiang Tao breathed out a few long breaths and said, "I'm okay. It's just that these bastards tied me up too tightly. They almost suffocated me." "That's good." Li Changsheng's heart was completely relieved. At this time, Zhang Xiaofeng and Yang Fan ran up. Just now, they had witnessed a blockbuster action. At the same time, they had a lingering fear. The other party was holding a gun. Li Changsheng asked Zhang Xiaofeng and Yang Fan to keep an eye on the fainted guy in front. Then, he found a bottle of mineral water in the car and poured it directly on the face of the fainted guy behind him. When the guy opened his eyes, he was still a little confused. But when he saw Li Changsheng's face, he screamed and was about to stand up and run away. Then, he saw a black muzzle on his neck. Suddenly, all his movements came to an abrupt halt. He stammered, "Mercy, mercy. Tell me, who sent you?" Li Changsheng asked coldly. There was some hesitation in the other party's eyes. The next moment, Li Changsheng directly raised his hands and feet and fired a shot at his feet. Bang! The bullet flew directly between his legs. Suddenly, the other party was so scared that his legs went soft. Yellow liquid flowed down his trousers. "Tell me, who sent you?" Li Changsheng spoke for the second time. This time, The other party stammered. Young Master Lu asked me to do this. There were many people in the world who dared to kill, but there were very few who were not afraid of death. Li Chongqing asked what he wanted. Then, he threw the black Type 54 pistol at the other party's feet and said, "Get out." The guy did not dare to pick up the pistol. He rolled and crawled out of the parking lot. Yang Fan pointed to the other guy who was still in a coma and asked, "What about this one? Tie him up and leave him on the side of the road. I believe someone will take him away." After that, he asked Jiang Tao to lock the car door. Then, he walked directly to the side of the road and took a taxi away. What they did not know was that the whole process just now had been transmitted to the bar's monitoring screen. Lin Jinhua looked back at the yellow-haired guy whose wound had been bandaged and said, "Are you convinced this time?" The yellow-haired guy nodded with lingering fear. Next to him, Lin Yin opened her mouth slightly and said in surprise, "Who is this guy? He even attracted assassins to kill him." On the way back, Jiang Tao's face was full of fear. "I didn't offend anyone. Why did they kidnap me?" Next to him, Zhang Xiaofeng and Yang Fan's faces were also full of fear. The other party had real guns and bullets. If it were not for Li Chongqing's good skills, who knows what would have happened tonight? "You didn't offend anyone. It's me who offended someone," Li Chongqing said coldly with a trace of coldness in his eyes. He took out his mobile phone and called Qiyu. "Check the Liu family in Beijing for me, especially the eldest son of the Liu family, Liu Yang." "Okay." The other side of the phone answered. At this time, Qiyu had already fallen asleep. But Li Chongqing called him, and soon, a document was sent to his mailbox. It was a detailed introduction of the eldest son of the Liu family, Liu Yang. The Liu family was one of the 4 major families in Beijing, as famous as the Wang family. Liu Yang's resume stated that he and the eldest son of the Wang family, Wang Shaw, were classmates from elementary school to high school. Sure enough, my guess was not far from the truth. Just as he finished reading the information, his phone suddenly rang. The number showed that the caller was unknown. When he answered the phone, a cold voice came from the other side. "Are you surprised by today's big gift? This is just the appetizer. The show is about to begin. You are the eldest son of the Liu family, Liu Yang." Li Chongqing was silent for a few seconds and said, "I don't care if you did it because of Wang Shua or because of other reasons. If you don't want the Liu family to die with you, you better stop." "Huh." The laughter on the other side of the phone was full of disdain. "Good boy. I have heard some of your deeds, but you are not qualified to fight with the Liu family. I will slowly play with you until you're crippled." "Ha ha." After hanging up the phone, Li Chongqing's face was gloomy. Chapter 415. Li Chongqing had planned to return to Qingzhou the next day, but what happened tonight made him unable to leave in peace. Seeing old Master Bai, the resentment in his heart had almost dissipated. Li Chongqing, who had planned to let it go, had no choice but to pick up the butcher knife again. To be merciful to the enemy is to be cruel to oneself. For the first time, Li Chongqing felt that this sentence was meaningful. Kindness could not be exchanged for the enemy's gratitude. On the contrary, it could become one's own epitaph. The next morning, Jiang Tao did not go to work. He was scared out of his wits yesterday. The so-called internship was nothing more than a whim experience for a rich second generation like him. The salary and the so-called resume were really not that important to him. When he opened the door, a figure appeared at the door of Jiang Tao's room. Qi Xian, who was carrying some fruits with a smile on his face, stunned him for a moment. When he learned that it was Li Chongqing's friend, he hurried to welcome him. "My dad asked me to help you." Qi Xian put down the fruits and changed in his slippers. He walked to the sofa and sat down. "It seems that your kung fu has improved these days." Li Chongqing glanced at Qi Xian. As the saying goes, like father, like son. Qi Xian was the most appropriate. He was already the crown prince of the north, but he still worked hard to improve his strength. There was no trace of a playboy in him. Jiang Tao was considered quiet among the rich second generation, but compared to Qi Xian, it was like comparing a jar to a jade stone. He hurriedly washed the fruits, put them on the coffee table, and poured tea for Qi Xian. Jiang Tao didn't dare to look down on this smiling, handsome, and somewhat feminine man of the same age. Every time Qi Xian made a move, he would feel an extremely dangerous aura. Even with his experience, he could tell that Qi Xian was definitely not an ordinary person. The reason why young Master Lu attacked you was to stand up for Wang Shi. After Qi Xian sat down, he immediately went straight to the point. This time, my father asked me to bring his most elite team here. They are all famous machete men in the Northwest. They dare to fight and kill. They are vicious and ruthless. Although they can't deal with people like you, they can deal with the bodyguards of the young master of the Lu family as if they were playing a game. These people, including me, will obey your orders unconditionally. Qi Xian didn't touch the tea on the table from beginning to end. Instead, he looked straight at Li Changsheng, the legendary figure whom he revered. This time, he was the one who had asked his father to come to the capital. To be able to follow by Mr. Li's side, he felt his blood boil and excitement like never before. Although Jiang Tao, who was serving fruits at the side, did not fully understand what was going on, he could clearly sense a murderous aura from Qi Xian. It was very iron-blooded, and he couldn't help but waver. "Sir, do you want to slowly bring down the Lu family by cutting their flesh with a knife? Or do you want to cut the Gordian knot and destroy them directly? My father said that the Qi family has deliberately kept a low profile these years. Many people think that they don't dare to enter the capital. This time, it's a good opportunity to wake up those famous families in the capital." This time, Qi Xian came to the capital with the intention of showing off on behalf of his father. After so many years of keeping a low profile, the Qi family had long forgotten the deterrence brought by the word sick tiger. But they didn't know that the capital was the trial ground that Qi Yu had left for his son. "I'm not in the mood for any tricks. Where is young Master Lu? Let's start with him," Li Changsheng said indifferently. "Sir, I've already found out Lu Yang's location. We can set off at any time." At this moment, in a dazzling and famous clubhouse in the capital, young Master Lu Yang of the Lu family reclined on a sofa, surrounded by burly men. On both sides of him, there were two graceful women in cheongsams. One of them was massaging his legs, while the other was peeling off the grapes on the table and feeding them to him one by one. He was hugging them on his left and right. The women were in their 20s. If one didn't know better, they would never think that someone dressed like this was a top student from a famous university working part-time here. In a materialistic society, money could make the world go round. Lu Yang liked this kind of tone. The goddess in the eyes of many people was just a plaything in front of the rich. Those two fellows yesterday were really useless. They had such an exquisite plan with guns, but they still failed in the end. To think that I patted my chest in front of my brother and promised to help him vent his anger. Lu Yang signaled to the woman beside him that she didn't need to peel grapes for him anymore. A burly man in front said coldly, "Young master, we underestimated his strength. Next time, I'll personally break his neck." The burly man's body was covered in tattoos. His voice was coarse and confident. His fists were huge. Thunderhand Yinliang was a bodyguard that the Lu family head had specially sent to Lu Yang. He did have the right to be proud. It was said that his most glorious battle record was when he single-handedly killed a group of fully armed mercenaries in a primeval forest. In the Lu family, he had a high salary of 3 million a year. Only the Lu family head's most trusted right-hand man could earn more than him. In a few days, it will be my brother's wedding day. Before he gets married, I must kill this Li Changsheng and fulfill my promise to my brother. Lu Yang smiled coldly and was about to let the woman beside him continue peeling grapes for him. With a bang, the door of the house was kicked open. "Young Master Lu, you're in such a good mood. You'd better enjoy yourself today. After today, you won't exist in this world anymore." A mocking voice sounded. A group of people rushed in, led by an ordinary-looking young man. If they were on the streets, Lu Yang wouldn't even look at him. But at this moment, with the appearance of the other party, his face showed vigilance. The bodyguards in the house also showed defensive postures at the same time, pulling out the guns at their waists. Li Changsheng, accompanied by Qi Xian, walked in leisurely. Behind him were bodyguards in suits. Every one of them had the same expression on their faces as if they were cast from the same mold. There was no extra expression. They held slender and sharp long swords in their hands. They looked like Meow Dao, but were slightly different. Those who knew their stuff would recognize that this was a Tang sword, the original form of a samurai sword. It was once the overlord of an era. When he saw these swordsmen, even the #1 bodyguard, Thunder Hand Yin Liang, who had always been calm, began to change his expression. The aura of these people made him very uncomfortable. Liu Yang sat up straight and stared at Li Changsheng. He said in a low voice, "You're that Li Changsheng from Qingzhou who stole my brother's girlfriend." Chapter 416. You are Li Changsheng? I didn't see that you have 3 heads and 6 arms. Liu Yang glanced at Yin Liang, who was standing next to him like a small mountain. He couldn't help showing some confidence on his face. Li Changsheng was very ordinary. So ordinary that even though there were more than a dozen swordsmen standing behind him, each with a strong aura, he still subconsciously looked down on him. What's more, what era is this? Playing with swords? No matter how sharp a sword is, can it be faster than a bullet? I'm sorry to disappoint you. Li Changsheng smiled and took a few steps forward. With one foot on the tea table, he looked down at the young master of the Liu clan, Liu Yang. The guy in front of him didn't realize that when Li Changsheng kicked open the door and came in, his fate and the fate of his whole family were already decided. Of course, he was destined to not see many things. The dead didn't even know what they would look like after death, let alone what others would look like. You are very arrogant. Liu Yang chuckled. He pinched the face of the pretty girl next to him. These 2 girls from top universities looked at the scene in front of them. Although they tried their best to keep calm, they couldn't help but turn pale. After all, the shiny long sword and the cold muzzle of the gun were not special effects made in movies. They were real killing weapons. Of course, they were only afraid of the bloody scene that was about to happen. They didn't think that this seemingly arrogant but ordinary-looking young man was qualified to threaten the dignified eldest son of the Liu family. It doesn't matter if you're disappointed or not, but you dare to arm wrestle with me in the capital. You're courting death. I really don't know what you were thinking. Also, I don't like being looked down at. Liu Yang smiled and then winked at Yin Liang, the #1 bodyguard next to him. The next moment, Yin Liang's thick arm suddenly grabbed Li Changsheng's shoulder. But before he could get close, he was blocked by Li Changsheng's raised arm. Then, with a casual wave of his hand, Yin Liang was sent flying from where he stood, crashing into the wall. The whole room fell silent. Take him down. Liu Yang's face was filled with shock. He was well aware of the combat strength of his #1 bodyguard. Only now did he realize that he had underestimated the strength of the young man in front of him. My apologies. Hula. The other bodyguards aimed their guns at Li Changsheng's position. However, before he could pull the trigger, he saw the dozen or so bladesmen behind Li Changsheng turn into afterimages and rush into the room. The guy closest to Li Changsheng had just raised his gun when a silver light flashed and his hands were chopped off. In just a few seconds, 7 or 8 bodyguards had a long knife placed across their necks. There were also a few dishonest ones who had already fallen to the ground. Their throats were in pain and blood was flowing out. The initiative of the battle instantly changed hands. The 2 girls turned pale with fright, but they didn't dare to make sound. They hid on the sofa and shivered. The young master of the Liu clan, Liu Yang, was also dumbfounded. At this moment, Li Changsheng picked up a pistol from the ground and wiped the blood on it with the tissue on the table. Then, he slowly pressed it against Liu Yang's forehead. Liu Yang's body trembled, and a trace of fear appeared on his face. However, he still pretended to be calm and said, Li Changsheng, I'm the young master of the Liu clan. If you don't want to fight to the death with the Liu clan, then... However, before he could finish his words, he heard a loud bang and a bloody hole appear between his eyebrows. His entire body was carried by a powerful force and slammed into the sofa behind him. Even at the moment of death, his eyes were still wide open and filled with disbelief. The 2 pretty girls next to him couldn't bear this terrifying scene and screamed out loud. Ah, he killed, the 2 girls screamed. Qi Xian walked up to them and waved his hand, slapping each of them. Slap, slap. He said sinisterly, shut up right now. If you scream again, I'll send you to hell together." Instantly, the two girls covered their mouths and didn't dare to make a sound. They just looked at the fierce people in front of them in horror. The rushing thunder Han Yinliang, who had been sent flying by Li Changsheng in one move, was currently struggling to stand up from the ground. However, before he could straighten his body, he saw a silver light instantly piercing through his chest and nailing him to the wall. He opened his mouth, and blood gushed out from it. Soon his head drooped down. Qi Xian had snatched the knife from one of his men and thrown it out. This time, even the few bodyguards who were still alive were so scared that they were trembling all over. Qi Xian looked at Li Changxing questioningly. His meaning was obvious. Should he kill or let go of the others in the room? As Qi Yu's son, although Qi Xian was usually quiet, he had completely inherited his father's ruthlessness. The lives of everyone in the room were in Li Changxing's hands. Forget it. It's not good to implicate the innocent. Li Changxing smiled and walked out of the room. Qi Xian and a group of machete men followed closely behind. Soon, the room was empty, as if it was just a dream. However, Lu Yang lying on the sofa and the blood and corpses on the ground all reminded the living that they had just escaped death. Lu Yang, the eldest son of the Lu family, was dead. An hour after Li Changsheng, Qi Xian, and the others left the club, the news spread throughout the capital like a hurricane. This was undoubtedly a major earthquake. The heir of the Lu family, one of the four dominant families, was killed. The sky was pierced. Wang Shuo, who was accompanying his fiancée, Bai Qianxue, to choose a wedding ring, dropped his phone when he heard the news. He froze for 3 whole minutes, as if he had been paralyzed. He only reacted when Bai Qianxue, who was beside him, shook his arm. "What's wrong?" Bai Qianxue picked up the phone on the ground, her eyes filled with concern and confusion. "I'm fine." Wang Shuo took a deep breath and suppressed the horror in his heart. Sadness gradually appeared in his eyes. Lu Yang was his good brother. Now that he was dead, he felt a little sad. But more than that, he felt fear. If Li Changsheng dared to kill Lu Yang, he would also dare to kill him, the eldest son of the Wang family. In the capital, the Lu family was no less powerful than the Wang family. Now that the eldest son of the Lu family was killed, Wang Shuo felt a chill in his heart. No matter how powerful a family was, they wouldn't want to provoke a desperado, because such people often had the courage to die together with others. This Li Changsheng is too crazy. Doesn't he know what kind of disaster he will cause by killing Lu Yang? Wang Shuo's heart was not calm. Chapter 417. On the other hand, inside the Lu family's mansion, Lu Wuheng smashed a piece of Jingdezhen porcelain on the ground. The senior members of the Lu family didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Lu Yang was the only descendant of the Lu family, and he had been groomed as the heir of the family. However, he had been killed by someone else, and the shock was unimaginable. "Have you found out who the culprit is?" Lu Wuheng took a deep breath. Although his face was still gloomy, he had obviously calmed down. The senior members of the Lu family heaved a sigh of relief. His name is Li Changsheng, and he is a well-known figure in Qing State and Chuzhou City. I heard that he is very good at martial arts, and he is very close to Chu Yaotian, the current leader of the Qing State. So far, we have only found this much information. A middle-aged man who looked like a housekeeper said respectfully, "Mr. Li? How dare a 20-year-old boy call himself Mr. Li? He is just a country bumpkin from Qing State, and he dares to offend the Lu family." Lu Wuheng said coldly, "I think he came to Jin City because of his girlfriend Bai Qianxue. Bai Qianxue is the fiancée of Wang Shuo." A cold light flickered in Lu Wuheng's eyes as he heard his subordinate's words. No wonder he had a grudge with Yang. It was because of Wang Shuo. I will remember this and punish the Wang family after I have dealt with Li Changsheng. Within 3 days, this Li Changsheng must die. Otherwise, how can my son's soul rest in peace? Hearing Lu Wuheng's words, a young man stepped forward. "Uncle, let me deal with Li Changsheng." The young man's name was Lu Xia, and he was Lu Wuheng's nephew. Now that Lu Wuheng's son was dead, Lu Xia was likely to become the next heir of the Lu family. He stood up at this time to leave a good impression on Lu Wuheng. According to the information, this Li Chongqing's strength is not ordinary. Second young master, I think our Lu clan should be careful. The housekeeper who was in charge of investigating Li Chongqing's information hurriedly said, for a young man to become the #1 person in Qingzhou in such a short period of time, coupled with the fact that the first young master had Yin Liang by his side to protect him, he was still killed. This already speaks volumes. Hearing the housekeeper's words, Lu Xia curled her lips in disdain. Even a powerful dragon cannot suppress a local snake. Moreover, I just hired a few mercenaries from abroad. They're all good with guns, so don't worry. Before tonight, I will twist Li Chongqing's head back to pay tribute to my brother Yang's soul. At this moment, in a huge manor in capital city, the eldest daughter of the Yi family, Yi Shuang, was reluctantly called to the hall by her father. In the main hall, the upper echelons of the Yi clan were all present. Sitting at the very top was the head of the Yi family, Yi Haoran. Beside him was Yi Haoran's wife, who was also Yi Shuang's mother, Guisuyun. Dad, why are you looking for me? Yi Shuang's face was cold. In the past few days, her family had been forcing her to marry the eldest son of the Bai family. During this period, Yi Shuang had refused several times in a row. Every day, the elders in the family would come to persuade her, which made her very annoyed. Yi Shuang, you are really getting more and more unruly. You don't even greet so many elders. Yi Haoran snorted coldly. He had a lot of opinions about this daughter of his. I said, I will not marry the eldest son of the Bai family. I only like Li Chongqing. The eldest son of the Bai family is not even qualified to carry Li Chongqing's shoes. Hearing the 3 words, Li Chongqing, Yi Haoran could not help but slam the table with his palm. Presumptuous. What kind of bewitching potion did that brat with the surname Li give you to make you so infatuated? The elders of the Yi family next to him also shook their heads. Shuang is too willful. She doesn't know anything at all. Yes, the marriage of the Bai family and the Yi family is a match made in heaven. Well, Li Chongqing, he is just a bumpkin from a small place in Qingzhou City. How can he be compared to the eldest son of the Bai family? Although everyone's voices were very low, there were still a few sentences that Guisuyun and Yi Haoran could hear. Suddenly, Yi Haoran's face turned even uglier. Yi Shuang had a strong personality since she was young. He also felt helpless towards this daughter of his. In the end, he sighed and said, forget it. Although I don't know how that brat charmed you, I will let you see the truth today. That Li Chongqing has entered the capital. Just an hour ago, he killed the eldest son of the Lu family, Lu Yang. Now, the Lu family is furious. I am afraid that they will gather the power of the entire family to tear him into pieces. Such a person thinks that he can do whatever he wants just because he has some power in Qingzhou. I called you here to let you see his nature clearly so that you can change your mind as soon as possible. Hearing this, Yi Shuang's face lit up. What? Chongqing is in the capital? Yi Haoran's face darkened. This is not the point. The point is that he killed the eldest son of the Lu family. He will not live past tonight. Unexpectedly, Yi Shuang sneered. How can a Lu family deal with Chongqing? Father, do you dare to make a bet with me? What bet? Yi Haoran was very disappointed with his daughter's performance. He originally thought that Yi Shuang fell in love with a poor boy. Perhaps it was because the poor boy was indeed unique. But now, looking at Yi Shuang's performance, it was obvious that she had lost even the most basic judgment. The bet is very simple. Let's bet whether Chongqing is more powerful or the Lu family. If the Lu family can kill Chongqing, then I will listen to your arrangement and marry the young master of the Bai family obediently. If the final winner is Chongqing, then don't oppose me and Chongqing anymore. Hearing Yi Shuang's words, Yi Haoran sighed and said, You are obsessed. However, there was some joy on his face. Okay, it's a deal. In his opinion, it was impossible for the dignified Lu family to not be able to deal with a bumpkin from Qingzhou. At this moment, Li Chongqing, who had dealt with Lu Yang, went straight back to Jiang Tao's house. This time, Qi Xian did not follow him. As soon as he opened the door, he saw several acquaintances. Tang Bo, his girlfriend, and Lin Yin were all there. There were also several young people, all of whom were Jiang Tao's friends. They heard that Jiang Tao did not go to work today, so they came to hang out with him. Zhong Xian and Lin Yin happened to have no classes in the morning, so they came together. Last time, Lin Yin accompanied Zhong Xian out because she could not resist Zhong Xian's pestering. This time, it was completely voluntary. After parting last night, she was a little more curious about Li Changsheng and could not forget him. When she saw Li Changsheng coming in, Lin Yin's face showed an obvious smile. This made the rich second generation, who had been shocked by Lin Yin as soon as he saw her, reveal a trace of sadness in his eyes. This is my good brother Li Changsheng. Jiang Tao took the initiative to introduce him. Tang Bo also stood up and shook hands with Li Changsheng. Brother, we meet again. Then he turned to his friends and added, this is the hero that I told you about last night, who showed off his skills. The boys at the scene were obviously very interested in Li Changsheng. Which boy did not have a martial arts dream of traveling the world with a sword? The girls did not have any reaction. Zhong Xian and the others had long passed the age of worshipping boys' martial arts. They were all appearance associations. Part of the evaluation of boys was based on their handsome appearance, while the other part was based on their family background and ability. They stayed at Jiang Tao's house until the afternoon. Li Changxing took the time to send a text message to Qi Xian, asking, how is it? Soon, for words came back, everything is normal. Li Changxing nodded and thought, the Liu family should have already received the news. There is no reason for them to not react. Are they going to wait until the night is dark to make a move? At this time, the few of them played a few rounds of fried golden flour and were a little hungry. Jiang Tao invited them to eat outside. After the meal, they went to the KTV under the girls' urging. When they went to the KTV, there was a girl with a good singing voice. As soon as she went in, she picked an extremely difficult song, Tibetan Plateau, which caused a round of applause. Compared to the few boys who picked up the microphone later, their screams were like that of pigs being slaughtered. It was a sea of wailing and howling. In the end, Lin Yin picked up the microphone and sang A Little Luck in a gentle manner. She was beautiful and sang sweet, and while singing, she kept looking at Li Changsheng. Just then, Li Changsheng raised his head and their eyes met. She could not help but blush slightly. The rich second generation, who had been interested in Lin Yin, insisted on asking Li Changsheng to sing a song. Li Changsheng had lived for 10,000 years and could be called an all-rounder. However, he did not know anything about music. He wanted to refuse, but Jiang Tao, Tang Bo, and the others all cheered him on. Helpless, he sang a recently popular song, Just Happened to Meet You. As a result, he was out of tune from the beginning until the end. After he finished singing, many people in the room were laughing. However, Lin Yin was clapping with a serious look on her face. At 8 o'clock in the evening, the party finally ended. The rich second generation took the initiative to say that he would send Lin Yin back to school. As for Zhong Xian and Tang Bo, who came with Lin Yin, they obviously did not plan to go back tonight. Lin Yin hesitated and subconsciously looked at Li Changxing next to her. At this time, Li Changxing said, "Let me send you back." Lin Yin hurriedly nodded. The rich second generation's eyes flashed with some dissatisfaction, but he did not say anything. After leaving the KTV, everyone went to find their own cars, but because they all drank, they could only call for a designated driver. At this time, Li Changsheng directly walked to a Bentley in the parking lot. This surprised the men and women who were waiting for a designated driver. However, the rich second generation was still a little unconvinced. Although the car he drove was not as good as Li Changsheng's Bentley, with his family background, it was not impossible to buy a Bentley, and he could do it if he worked hard. However, when Qi Xian, who was wearing a handsome suit, took the initiative to open the door and respectfully called Mr. Li, the other party was completely shocked. There was a designated driver, and the driver's aura could completely defeat the rich second generation present today. Thus, after pondering over Li Changxing's ordinary performance for the whole night, no one dared to underestimate him. So when Li Changxing asked the equally surprised Lin Yin to get in the car, The other party changed his previous coldness and took the initiative to hand a business card to Li Changsheng and said, "Let's keep in touch in the future." Li Changsheng smiled and casually put the business card in his pocket, then waved his hand and left in the car. It was not until the car was far away that the stunned people reacted. Tang Bo, who was hugging Zhong Xian, could not help but sigh. So F** King low-key. Chapter 4:18. The car drove on at a steady speed. Lin Yin turned to look at Li Changsheng, who was sitting next to her. The lights outside the window shone on his face through the car window. The flickering lights made his originally ordinary face look mysterious and handsome. Lin Yin was very curious about Li Changsheng's identity. She opened her mouth several times, but didn't say anything in the end. Lin Yin looked back and said with some confusion, "I saw 2 commercial cars following behind us. I thought they were your bodyguards, but they disappeared. It seems that they were just passing by." Li Changsheng smiled. "Yes, there are no bodyguards." The car drove all the way to the campus. Li Changsheng got out of the car and walked Lin Yin into the dormitory building. The car drove out of the campus and stopped on the side of the road. A brawny man in a suit got out of the commercial car. He walked to the front of the car, bent down, and said in a low voice, "A total of 30 people have been taken care of. 9 of them are still alive. What should we do with them?" Sitting in the passenger seat, Jiang Tao, who was a little sleepy, suddenly straightened up. The drunkenness on his face disappeared. Qi Xian looked at the brawny man with some annoyance and said, "You are blind." Li Changsheng waved his hand and said, "Do what you need to do. You don't need to ask me about such trivial matters." At the same time, in the Liu family mansion, Liu Wuheng, the head of the Liu family, was frowning. In front of him was a complete file about Li Changsheng. Everything from Qingzhou to Chuzhou City was clearly recorded on the file. This made his frown deeper and deeper. In the end, he let out a long sigh. Just as the information stated, Li Changsheng himself was very likely to be a Master Realm expert, although such a young Master Realm expert was rare. However, there were crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the world. Nothing was impossible. I am afraid that Xia is in danger this time. Liu Wuheng looked at a senior member of the Liu family next to him. "I asked you to call Xia and asked him to rush back to the Liu family mansion. Any news?" "I can't get through to the second young master's phone. I sent someone to look for him, but there is no news yet." The ominous feeling in Liu Wuheng's heart grew heavier. "Patriarch, even if he's a grandmaster, with me around, he won't be able to get within 3 steps of you," a muscular man said in a low, muffled voice. He was the only bodyguard in the Liu family who was better than rushing Thunderhand Yin Liang, and whose martial arts were higher than Yin Liang. His name was Zhuo Zuting. Not only was his surname Zhuo, but he also wielded a left-handed blade. Over the years, he had played the role of the vanguard in the Liu family's several expansions. "Zuting, you underestimate this Li Changsheng." An old man with a crooked back standing behind Liu Wuheng spoke leisurely. Zhuo Zuting's face instantly revealed a respectful expression. Everyone said that Zhuo Zuting was the one with the highest combat strength under Liu Wuheng, but only the Liu family knew that the one with the highest combat strength was the elder behind Liu Wuheng, Zhang Taiyan. This was because he was the master of Zhuo Zuting. He was proficient in both the saber and the palm. He was the only great grandmaster from the Republic of China to modern times. The so-called great grandmaster was a martial god who was only 1 step away from entering the martial Dao. Even innate realm experts wouldn't dare to engage in close combat with such a person. Once he broke through again, he could directly cross the innate realm and enter the Vajra realm. Such a martial artist who cultivated the mortal world's martial arts to the extreme was already synonymous with the martial god. Little Zhuo, all these years, you've met some good-for-nothings. This has made your pride grow. If this continues, you will suffer a great loss. Zhang Taiyan criticized. Zhuo Zuting immediately said respectfully, "Master, this disciple knows his mistake." However, with Master around, no matter how powerful that Li Changsheng is, he won't be able to stir up any big waves. This time, Zhang Taiyan didn't say anything. As a person who had cultivated the mortal world's martial arts to the extreme, he did have the right to be proud. At this moment, the second young master, Lu Xia, who couldn't be contacted by the entire Lu family, was being pulled by two brawny men and kneeling in front of Li Changsheng in humiliation. Do you think you can deal with me by finding a few incompetent mercenaries? Are the people of the Lu family so stupid? Li Changsheng looked at the angry second young master of the Lu family with a playful expression. Tell me, how do you want to die? Hearing Li Changsheng's words, the other party glared at him. Li, I advise you to let me go and obediently go to the Lu family to ask for forgiveness. There is a super martial artist in the Lu family who survived from the Republic of China. I saw with my own eyes that he could dodge bullets. Back then, one of my uncle's enemies came to the door with 30 rifles and 2 sniper rifles. In the end, they were all wiped out by him alone. From then on, the entire capital city knew that the Lu family had a martial god in charge. The extreme of the mortal world's martial arts. Interesting. Li Changsheng smiled faintly. I must see it. Aren't you afraid? Lu Xia couldn't help but tremble. He had a bad premonition. You don't understand the world of martial artists. Li Changsheng shook his head and directly walked past him. Then, before Lu Xia could react, a cold light directly slashed across his neck. Blood dyed the white half-sleeve red. The second young master of the Lu family died with confusion in his eyes. In the courtyard of the Lu family, Lu Wuheng, who hadn't contacted his nephew for half an hour, knew that his nephew was probably in danger. He hurriedly ordered, from now on, all the children of the Lu family are not allowed to go out. Then, tell all the security personnel to be on high alert. As soon as Lu Wuheng opened his mouth, he heard a whoosh, and the door of the hall was pushed open. Lu Wuheng was shocked. He saw an ordinary-looking man slowly walk in, followed by a group of Northwest swordsmen with long sabers. You are Li Changsheng? Lu Wuheng frowned. It seems that my bodyguards outside have been taken care of by you. After a brief surprise, Lu Wuheng's face returned to calmness. With an expert like Zhang Taiyan behind him, even if there were dozens of people thinking about his head every day, he could still sleep peacefully. Yes, congratulations, you guessed right. I am Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng chuckled. Then, he walked step by step toward Lu Wuheng. You killed my son, and I'm afraid my nephew also died in your hands. Now you're here. How much hatred do you have with my Lu family that you want to destroy my entire family? Lu Wuheng said coldly. Actually, there's not much hatred. It's just that if I don't come today, I'm afraid I'll face your Lu family's revenge tomorrow. I don't want to eliminate the root of the problem, but I have to do it. As he spoke, he looked at Zhuo Zuding, who was about to attack at any time as if he had encountered prey. You want to attack me? Zhuo Zuding didn't say anything. He just took a step forward and turned into an afterimage as he rushed toward Li Changsheng. However, before he could get close, he saw several silver lights flashing. 3 swordsmen joined the battle and blocked Zhuo Zuding. The few of them were locked in a fierce battle, and it was difficult to determine the winner. The expressions of the Lu family members changed. Zhuo Zuding was the #1 expert of the Lu family on the surface, but now he was blocked by 3 people. Li Changsheng had brought more than a dozen swordsmen this time. With this lineup, he indeed had the ability to flatten the Lu family. No matter how powerful the Lu family was, they could only use this master and disciple today. This was the terror of martial strength. One man can hold a country. He completely ignored Zhuo Zuding and the 3 swordsmen, who were locked in a fierce battle. Li Changsheng kept walking toward Lu Wuheng from the beginning to the end. Seeing that he was getting closer and closer to Lu Wuheng, the atmosphere became more and more solemn. Finally, the hunchback Zhang Taiyan suddenly straightened his body and took a step forward, appearing in front of Lu Wuheng. He said in a cold voice, I advise you to stop or die. Chapter 419. When Zhang Taiyan took a step forward, the dozen or so bladesmen behind Li Changsheng also rushed forward with a whoosh. They were one of the elite forces under Qi Yu's command. Their task now was to follow Li Changsheng's orders and protect Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng was their master. A total of 12 people, all holding slender tang swords, charged at Zhang Taiyin with flashing blades. But just as they rushed forward, the one in front had his arm grabbed by the other's hands and was thrown over his shoulder to the ground. Then, facing the remaining 11 swordsmen, Zhang Taiyan's seemingly stooped body seemed to have turned into a breeze. None of the blades could hurt him. Instead, 6 of the 12 swordsmen were knocked to the ground in the blink of an eye. One of them was slapped on the chest by him and was sent flying. Every one of Qi Yu's subordinates had been through hundreds of battles, but now they were completely at a disadvantage when facing an old man. The number 1 expert of the Liu clan is extraordinary. You guys stand down, Li Changsheng said indifferently, but there was no emotion on his face. The swordsman did not dare to disobey Li Changsheng's order and hurriedly stepped aside. Zhang Taiyin narrowed his eyes and looked at Li Changsheng. On his wrinkled old face, if it were not for this occasion, people would only think of him as a weather-beaten old farmer. His big hands are also very rough. I said, take another step forward and die. Zhang Taiyin looked at Li Changsheng quietly. He was very confident. A dozen swordsmen could not hurt him. So how could he take Li Changsheng seriously? Li Changsheng still walked forward unhurriedly, indifferent to the old man's threat. A cold light flashed in the old man's eyes. Kid, it seems that you are looking for death. Lu Wuheng, the head of the Liu clan, held a pair of walnuts in his hand, but his fingers had long since stopped moving. Boom! When Li Changsheng took another step forward, Zhang Taiyan's body suddenly shot towards Li Changsheng like a cannonball. At this moment, the entire hall trembled slightly. Several clear footprints appeared on the ground where he stepped. The sound of his fist exploding in the air was so loud that it made people's ears ring. Zhang Taiyan's attack this time was clearly more terrifying than when he had faced the 12 swordsmen. His powerful aura caused everyone to feel uncontrollably shocked. However, the moment this martial god-level expert, who even the 12 sabermen had not been able to harm, approached Li Changsheng, he flew backward at an even faster speed like a kite with its string cut. He crashed into the wall behind him, causing it to collapse. When he fell to the ground, his eyes were wide open. They were bloodshot and filled with disbelief. Blood kept coming out of his mouth. He struggled a few times, but was unable to get up. From the beginning to the end, no one saw how Li Changsheng made his move. From the Republic of China until now, it's not easy to practice martial arts to the extreme. Unfortunately, you followed the wrong master. Martial arts don't get better with age. Li Changsheng smiled slightly. He stopped looking at Zhang Taiyin, who had been sent flying, and looked at Lu Wuheng, who was sitting there. Mr. Zhang. The confidence on Lu Wuheng's face had turned into horror. In his heart, Zhang Taiyin was like a god. Even modern firearms could not threaten him. Now, he had been defeated so thoroughly. At this moment, Li Changsheng, who was 3 steps away from Lu Wuheng, sneered and said, "Now it's time for you to go on your way." The pair of walnuts in Lu Wuheng's hand fell to the ground with a thud. Even though the Liu clan had endless wealth, influence, and connections all over the capital, and could even influence the surrounding provinces and cities, they could not save him now. This was the power of martial arts. No matter how powerful you were, if you took off those gorgeous clothes, you were just a man of flesh and blood. Mr. Li, I shouldn't have provoked you. Please spare me. My Liu clan has such a big family business. As long as you are willing to be merciful, I'm willing to take out half of my wealth to buy my life. Half of your wealth? Li Changsheng smiled slightly. I don't care. He walked closer step by step until he was in front of Lu Wuheng. His eyes were full of indifference. You better stop. If I die, you will be hunted down endlessly by the Liu clan tomorrow. You should have heard of the Liu clan's strength. Lu Wuheng said loudly. Indeed, even if he died, the Liu clan would not fall. Since I dared to come here today, do you think I care about your insignificant Liu clan? Li Changsheng shook his head. Then, he raised his hand and gently placed it on Lu Wuheng's forehead. Immediately, the head of the Liu clan wanted to resist, but his body trembled. Blood flowed out of his 7 orifices, and he fell straight on the chair. The head of the Lu clan, Lu Wuheng, was dead. Patriarch Zhang Taiyin cried out in surprise. Tears flowed down his face. I didn't protect you well. Then you can go with him. Li Changsheng raised his hand. A ray of light flashed and flew toward Zhang Taiyin. Is this an immortal method? Zhang Taiyin's eyes widened. He spent his whole life pursuing the realm of martial arts, but in the end, he was stuck at the doorstep. He was stuck for half his life. He didn't expect to see his legendary realm today. However, the next moment, he didn't have much time to sigh. The light imprinted on his chest, and his body completely lost its vitality. In the Yi clan manor, the head of the Yi clan, Yi Haoran, and a group of senior members of the Yi clan were sitting in the hall. His daughter Yi Shuang was also there. Shuang, I called you here so late to tell you that the second young master of the Lu clan, Lu Xia, has sent assassins to deal with Li Changsheng. I think that Li Changsheng is already dead at this time. I just want you to see how weak the man you like is in front of a powerful clan. Lu Xia, the second young master of the Lu clan, is an idiot. Yi Shuang sneered. The entire Lu clan is just an ant in Changsheng's eyes. Ha, Shuang, you're really obsessed. Yi Haoran snorted. Just wait and see. There will be news soon. Li Changsheng will definitely not live past tonight. As soon as Yi Haoran's voice fell, the phone next to him rang. Hello? How's the situation? What? Lu Xia didn't kill Li Changsheng. Instead, he was killed by Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng also broke into the Lu clan. Yi Haoran's face suddenly darkened. Yi Shuang's eyes were filled with pride. How is it? Dad, what else do you have to say? Yi Haoran felt a little embarrassed, but he still said, Lu Xia is too useless. However, Li Changsheng really doesn't know what's good for him. He actually dares to enter the Lu clan. Lu Wuheng is protected by Zhang Taiyin. 10 years ago, I saw him block bullets with a cold weapon with a long saber. He is called the #1 master in the capital. Li Changsheng dares to break into the Lu clan. He will definitely die. As soon as Yi Haoran's voice fell, a senior member of the Yi clan next to him said, Master, I just received news that someone saw Li Changsheng come out of the Lu clan's mansion. What? The expression on Yi Haoran's face suddenly froze. He was extremely embarrassed. Chapter 420. Yi Haoran felt a burning sensation on his face, as if he had been slapped. This was too embarrassing. Did he have to slap his face so timely? Then, the phone next to Yi Haoran rang again. When he picked up the phone, Yi Haoran was stunned. What's wrong with the family head? The higher-ups next to him were puzzled. They did not understand why Yi Haoran had such an expression. I just got the latest news. The head of the Lu family, Lu Wuheng, is dead. Yi Haoran sighed, and he was a little absent-minded. What? The room suddenly fell into silence. Li Changsheng killed him. The housekeeper next to him said with a trembling voice. Yi Haoran nodded. I underestimated him. Huh. Yi Shuang could not help but laugh. Dad, how is it? Now you know how powerful Li Changsheng is. It's just the Lu family. How could they hurt Li Changsheng? Hearing his daughter's words, Yi Haoran shook his head. Shuang, Dad admits that I underestimated Li Changsheng. But do you think he can escape unscathed after killing the head of the Lu family? The Lu family is not just the Lu family. They are one of the 4 major families in Beijing. By killing the head of the Lu family, Li Changsheng has caused a great disaster. The real strength of the Lu family is not in martial strength, but in connections and wealth. Now that the head of the Lu family has been killed, no matter who the new head is, in order to stabilize his position and the prestige of the Lu family, he will definitely go all out to hunt down Li Changsheng. Money makes the world go round. The experts that the Lu family can hire are beyond your imagination. You are too naive. Hearing her father's words, Yi Shuang curled her lips disapprovingly. After seeing Li Changsheng's powerful martial strength, she did not think that there was any expert in the world who could threaten Li Changsheng. Seeing his daughter's expression, Yi Haoran shook his head. Daughter, I lost the bet with you, but I hope you don't be impulsive. If Li Changsheng can really survive the wrath of the Lu family, I will definitely not stop you. But this is simply impossible. At the same time, in the Wang family's villa, Wang Shu also received the news that the head of the Liu family had been killed. This Li Changsheng actually broke into the Liu clan and killed the patriarch of the Liu clan. This is too terrifying. If the death of the Liu family's young master, Liu Yang, had given Wang Shuo a sense of crisis, it wasn't to the extent of being terrifying. After all, in his opinion, Liu Yang was killed outside. It could only be said that Li Changsheng saw the opportunity. But now it was completely different. Li Changsheng actually had the ability to break into an aristocratic family and kill them. If that Li Changsheng wanted to kill him, would his Wang clan's guards be able to stop him? No, this Li Changsheng must die. Wang Shuo's eyes flashed with viciousness. He took out his phone and dialed a number. Hello, Qinxue. I heard that your ex-boyfriend, Li Changsheng, came to Beijing. I don't have any other intentions. Can you ask him out for a meal tomorrow in your name? Yes, don't worry, I won't do anything to him. Don't you know how open-minded I am? After hanging up the phone, Wang Shuo pressed another string of numbers. Hello, Uncle Liu, I'm Wang Shuo. I heard about the Liu clan's incident. I think we can cooperate. Because today was Saturday, Jiang Tao's house was very lively. Tang Bo, several of his friends, Zhong Ting, Lin Yin, and a few other girls gathered at his house. Everyone was resting today, so Tang Bo proposed to play golf. Zhong Ting wanted to go to the arcade. A rich second generation next to her asked Lin Yin for her opinion. Lin Yin looked at Li Changsheng, who was sitting there and reading a magazine. Changsheng, where do you think we should go later? Lin Yin asked. Li Changsheng shook his head. No, you guys go ahead. I have an appointment with someone to go to the race course in the suburbs today. He looked at his watch. The other party should be arriving soon. In the morning, Bai Qinxue suddenly called him and said that she wanted to meet and talk with him. Li Changxing asked her if it was Wang Shuo's idea. She shook her head and said no, so Li Changxing nodded and agreed. Last night, he had just broken into the Liu clan's house and killed the head of the Liu clan. Today, Bai Qinxue wanted to meet him. In fact, Li Changxing knew that this matter must have something to do with Wang Shuo. I hope you don't know Wang Shuo's real intention. Li Changsheng sighed in his heart. He didn't want to destroy the white lotus in his heart with his own hands one day. Ring, ring, ring. His cell phone rang. Li Changxing stood up. The person who came to pick me up is here. I'll go downstairs first. Walking down the stairs and out of the corridor, he saw Bai Qinxue looking at him with a complicated expression. She was as beautiful as always. Thinking of that day on the steps of the Blue Light Hotel, watching Li Changxing's figure smoking one cigarette after another, she felt a slight headache. I didn't expect you to pick me up personally. I'm honored to have the young mistress of the Wang family as my driver. Li Changxing's words made Bai Qinxue's cheeks slightly unnatural. Just as she was about to say something, Li Changsheng had already opened the car door and got in. Bai Qinxue was a little uncomfortable with his cold look, but then she smiled bitterly and got in the car. Soon, the car drove out of the neighborhood. Upstairs, everyone watched from the window as Li Changsheng got into the car and left. Tang Bo couldn't help but be surprised. Jiang Tao, this Li Changsheng is not simple. Such a beautiful girl came to pick him up, and that car is a limited edition Maserati. Jiang Tao's other friends were also surprised. Only Lin Yin's eyes flashed with a trace of sadness. She is Changxing's ex-girlfriend, Bai Qinxue. Now she's going to marry the young master of the Wang family in Beijing, Wang Sha. Jiang Tao's face was also a little emotional. Thinking back to when he first saw Bai Qinxue in Qingzhou, he was also shocked. He was amazed that Li Changxing managed to win over such a woman. Now, in the blink of an eye, she had become the young mistress of the Wang family and was going to marry the young master of the Wang family. I remember now. I saw the news a few days ago that the young master of the Wang family is going to hold a wedding. I didn't expect the bride and Li Changsheng to have such a story. The young master of the Wang family is handsome and rich. If it were me, I would choose him too. A girl next to him said, "Yeah, it's not embarrassing to lose to the young master of the Wang family." Hearing the discussion around him, Jiang Tao snorted and wanted to refute, but he didn't know what to say. Indeed, Li Changxing's identity was also very special. He was the famous Mr. Li of Qingzhou, and many people looked up to him. But he was the young master of the Wang family. After coming to Beijing, he realized how terrifying the Wang family was. Every industry had the shadow of this family behind them. It seemed that there was a certain gap between Li Changxing and them. Chapter 421. The car drove all the way to the racecourse in the suburbs. On both sides of the road were trees that stretched as far as the eye could see. Although it was winter, it was a different kind of scenery. Li Changxing and Bai Qinxue didn't speak. Life was so strange. The two people who once wanted to be one were separated by thousands of mountains and rivers when they met again. The scenery in the suburbs is nice, right? Finally, Bai Qinxue broke the silence. It's also a good place to commit murder and arson. Li Changxing's lips curled into a cold smile. Bai Qinxue frowned. On this quiet road in the suburbs, there are 30 cars in front of and behind our car. Miss Bai, no matter how stupid you are, you should be able to see something, right? Hearing Li Changxing's words, Bai Qinshue's expression changed. She said, "Okay, I admit that it was Wang Shua's idea to invite you to the racecourse in the suburbs. He wants to talk to you. He means no harm." "Haha, you're Wang Shua? No harm." Li Changxing leaned against the back seat and closed his eyes. Bai Qinxue wanted to say something, but she didn't. Half an hour later, the car arrived at a place called Royal Horse Park. It was decorated in Chinese style. As soon as the car stopped, the manager of the racecourse came to greet them. Li Changxing walked into the racecourse and saw that Wang Shua had been waiting for a long time. "Qinxue, I want to talk to Mr. Li alone." Wang Shua smiled. Bai Qinxue nodded and looked at Li Changxing inquisitively. Li Changxing didn't say anything. Instead, he walked forward, making his intentions clear. The two of them came to the other side of the racecourse. There weren't many people in the racecourse today. Wang Shua stopped at a chair in front and sat down. Then his eyes fell on Li Changxing. "Mr. Li, you're really brave. You knew that today might be a trap, and you still dare to come. I don't know if I should admire your courage or lament your recklessness." Hearing Wang Shua's words, Li Changxing was expressionless. He just said calmly, "How much does Bai Qinxue know about today's matter? It seems like you still care about Qinshue's feelings." Wang Shua chuckled with a hint of playfulness in his eyes. "I told her that I just wanted to ask you out for a chat, and she agreed without hesitation. Qinshue is still a little naive, but I had to lie to her. Otherwise, how could I set up such a trap to kill you? Even the #1 master of the Lu family, Zhang Taiyan, is no match for you. If you don't die, I won't even be able to sleep well. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for pushing me too hard." As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Shua retreated step by step, widening the distance between him and Li Changxing. "Today, in order to deal with you, there are a total of 300 experts lying in ambush in this horse farm. They're all first-class experts in using guns. I know that your kung fu is high, and I also know that a martial artist at your level has the ability to dodge bullets. Zhang Taiyan once fought his way out of the encirclement of bullets, but martial artists have their limits. Zhang Taiyan said that if there were 50 submachine guns aimed at him, he would definitely die. Today, in order to deal with you, an expert who is more powerful than Zhang Taiyan, the Lu family, and I have prepared more than 200 submachine guns, dozens of sniper rifles, and rocket launchers. Such a generous gift is just to kill you. You should be proud when you die." Wang Shua was getting farther and farther away from Li Changxing. Li Changxing had not made a move, which made him breathe a sigh of relief. Just now, he was so close to Li Changxing that his heart almost jumped out. Now, he finally felt relieved. As his voice fell, dense figures appeared around the horse farm, and cold muzzles were pointed at Li Changxing's body. At this time, another middle-aged man in black also came out and said, "I'm Lu Wancheng, the head of the Lu family, Lu Wuheng's younger brother, and Lu Xia's father. Li Changxing, you have killed so many people of the Lu family. Today, it's time for you to pay with your life." Lu Wenchang and Wang Shua stood together and looked at Li Changxing with confidence. At this moment, Li Changsheng was already a lamb to be slaughtered in their eyes. More than 200 submachine guns fired at the same time could turn a person into a sieve. There were also more than a dozen Barrett sniper rifles. One bullet could shatter a person's head like a watermelon, not to mention that there were several rocket launchers on the high platform in the distance. Li Changsheng, are you afraid now? But who can you blame? You have to blame yourself for being too confident. You think that you can break into any dragon's lair or tiger's den because of your good kung fu. This is a carefully arranged assassination. In order to deal with you, we have spent a total of 300 million yuan. But as long as you are dead, it will be worth it. As for Bai Qinxue, I will take care of her for you. After Wang Shuo finished speaking, he and Lu Wenchang completely retreated to the gunman's camp. It is said that if you practice martial arts to the extreme, you can dodge bullets. But let's see if you can block thousands of bullets. Wang Shuo took a rifle from one of his men next to him, aimed at Li Changsheng's position, and pulled the trigger. Bang, bang, bang. 3 shots in a row, all hit the ground in front of Li Changsheng. It was not that he couldn't hit him, but he deliberately showed off to Li Changsheng. As a gun enthusiast, he actually still didn't believe that Li Changsheng could dodge bullets. Huh, you didn't even react. I think these 300 gunmen are killing a chicken with a sledgehammer. After that, he raised a rifle again, this time aiming at Li Changsheng's chest, and pulled the trigger. Bang! As the bullet whizzed out, Wang Shuo's eyes also showed a hint of madness. But surprisingly, after 3 seconds, Li Changsheng was still standing there safe and sound. While he was wondering, he saw Li Changsheng gently waved his finger and a bullet was thrown to the ground by him. Catching a bullet with bare hands? The smile on Wang Shuo's face disappeared and was replaced by a look of horror. Lu Wenchang next to him also widened his eyes. Although Zhang Taiyin, the top master of the Lu family, could block bullets, he could only do so with a long knife. He had never heard of anyone who could catch a bullet with flesh and blood. Not to mention how great the impact of the bullet was when it flew over. Just the heat generated by the high-speed rotation could burn the skin. The gunmen who had witnessed all of this were also shocked. At this time, Li Changsheng had already stepped forward. He didn't have the patience to waste time with these people. As Li Changsheng approached step by step, Wang Shuo finally reacted from the shock and shouted, "Shoot!" He gave the order. Many gunmen woke up one by one. They aimed their rifles and machine guns at Li Changsheng's position and pulled the trigger. There were also countless red dots aimed at Li Changsheng's forehead, eyebrows, heart, and other important places. Thousands of bullets were densely packed, and all of them were fired at Li Changsheng's mausoleum. However, when those bullets were about to touch Li Changsheng's body, they were all suspended in the air as if they were blocked by an invisible force. In the end, they fell to the ground one by one. How could this be? At this moment, Wang Shuo, Lu Wenchang, and the top gunmen they hired from home and abroad were all shocked. Chapter 422. Rocket Launcher! Rocket Launcher! Go! Wang Shuo screamed. He was completely terrified. He originally thought that he would be killed, but when he saw the bullets falling to the ground within 3 steps of Li Changsheng, he felt his soul tremble. Bang! 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 The rocket launchers finally fired. More than a dozen shells instantly enveloped Li Changsheng. The bullets exploded at Li Changsheng's feet and burned with a huge fire. The fire was swallowing and spitting, and the earth was shaking. With such power, even a tank could be blasted into smithereens. He should be dead this time. Wang Shuo stared at the center of the explosion. Everyone around him was breathing rapidly. However, a few seconds later, a figure walked out from inside, unharmed. Seeing such a scene, everyone was dumbfounded, and no one dared to attack again. The sniper rifles in the hands of several snipers in the distance also fell to the ground. The figure who walked out of the rain of bullets was no different from a god in the eyes of everyone at this moment. Plop! Plop! As Li Changsheng approached, those sharpshooters knelt on the ground one by one and shouted, "God, please spare our lives. What should we do?" Wang Shuo and Lu Wenchang looked at each other and saw endless fear in each other's eyes. Even a rocket launcher could not kill such a person. Who could stop such a person? Thump, thump, thump. Li Changsheng walked slowly and finally approached the position of Wang Shuo and Lu Wenchang. The two could no longer hold on and knelt on the ground. "Mr. Li, I was wrong. Please spare our lives," Wang Shuo said with a trembling voice. Lu Wenchang also hurriedly said, "Mr. Li, as long as you don't kill me, I can give you anything. I killed your son. Didn't you avenge your son?" Li Changsheng asked coldly. Lu Wenchang hurriedly shook his head. "I promise I will never do it again." "Really? But I don't trust you." As soon as Li Changsheng finished speaking, before Lu Wenchang could react, he saw Li Changsheng gently point his finger. A bloody hole appeared on Lu Wenchang's forehead, and then he fell limply to the ground. "Ah!" Wang Shuo let out a scream and went up to hug Li Changsheng's thigh. "Mr. Li, please don't kill me. I beg you." "What a piece of trash." Li Changsheng kicked him aside. "If it wasn't for your identity as the young master of the Wang family, you would be nothing more than trash in my eyes. Mr. Li, I was wrong. Please don't kill me." Looking at the tearful Wang Shuo, who was kicked to the side, Li Changsheng's interest suddenly waned. He sighed, "Forget it. I'll spare your dog life on account of Qin Shue. Within 7 days, I want your Wang clan to completely disappear from the capital. I don't want to hear the words Wang clan of the capital anymore." Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Wang Shuo, who originally thought that he was going to die, had hope in his eyes. "You're really willing to let me go?" Okay, I'll definitely make the Wang clan leave the capital as soon as possible. I'll never set foot in the capital again and won't cause trouble for Mr. Li," Wang Shuo said hurriedly. Li Changsheng had already turned and walked outside. At this moment, at the entrance of the horse farm, Qin Shue was looking inside with a worried expression. She wanted to go in, but she was stopped by Wang Shuo's subordinates. Seeing Li Changsheng come out, she couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. But then she became worried again. "Where's my Wang Shuo?" She knew Li Changsheng's strength. "Don't worry, he's not dead." After saying that, Li Changsheng walked out of the horse farm. A few minutes later, Wang Shuo walked out with the help of his subordinates, his legs trembling. Seeing Wang Shuo come out, Qin Shue hurriedly went up to him. "Hubby, what's wrong?" The moment Wang Shuo saw Qin Shue, he immediately hugged her tightly, his face full of tears. "Qin Shue, your hubby's life was saved." When the news of the death of the Lu clan's new head, Lu Wenchang, spread, all the major forces in the capital were shocked. In the Yi clan's mansion, Yi Haoran's face was filled with disbelief when he heard the news. This Li Changsheng killed 2 heads of the Lu clan in a row. This person is really not simple. Father, I've told you before that the Lu clan is not worth mentioning in front of Li Changsheng. Yi Shuang's eyes were filled with pride. "Shuang, the power of an aristocratic family is not as simple as you think." He might have been lucky to be able to kill the head of the Lu clan. As soon as Yi Haoran finished speaking, a high-ranking official hurried in. "Head of the Lu clan, I just received news that the new head of the Lu clan has brought people to look for Li Changsheng. See, I told you. Even if another head of the Lu clan dies, this Li Changsheng will only anger the Lu clan even more. He will be hunted down by the Lu clan until he is dead." Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, he saw the high-ranking official shake his head. "Head of the Lu clan, this time the people of the Lu clan are going to apologize to Li Changsheng." What's going on?" Yi Haoran's eyes suddenly widened. With the Lu clan's strength, why would they choose to apologize? "I just received news that the Lu clan and the Wang clan gathered 300 sharpshooters at a horse ranch in the suburbs to deal with Li Changsheng. In the end, Li Changsheng showed a divine ability that made him invulnerable. Even the rocket launchers did not kill him." "What?" This time, Yi Haoran was completely shocked. Is there really an immortal cultivator in this world? He could not help but look at his daughter, Yi Shuang. He remembered Yi Shuang's description of Li Changsheng's ability to fly in the sky and burrow into the ground. In the past, he only heard it as a joke, but now he finally understood. It was not just the Yi clan. Almost in a day, The news about the horse ranch spread. In particular, the actions of the new head of the Liu clan almost confirmed the authenticity of the rumor to everyone. Whether the rumor is true or not, this Mr. Li can make the Liu clan bow their heads. We can't provoke him. All the major clans in the capital reached a consensus. At this moment, the new head of the Liu clan, Liu Haifeng, was respectfully kneeling in front of Li Changsheng. Fortunately, Jiang Tao was not at home. Otherwise, the heads of the 4 major clans in the capital would have to kneel in front of Li Changsheng. Such a scene would have frightened him. Get up. I don't want to pursue the matter of the Liu clan anymore. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Liu Haifeng stood up with a face full of gratitude. Mr. Li, don't worry. I will strictly manage the clan in the future. Just one command from Mr. Li, and the Liu clan will do it without hesitation. Compared to the shock of the upper-class circle in the capital, the lives of ordinary people did not change in the slightest. I heard that the chairman of the Liu clan, Liu Wuheng, died suddenly for no reason. The second chairman, Liu Wenchang, also died. Now it seems that Liu Haifeng has inherited the position of chairman. How could 2 chairmen die in a row? Could it be that the Liu clan has done too many bad things and suffered retribution? I heard that they provoked a mysterious person, and 2 of them were killed in the end. Is that true? Just as the matter of the Liu clan's change of ownership had attracted some people's attention, another matter quickly attracted everyone's attention. The wedding of the century of the Wang clan's eldest son, Wang Shua, was cancelled. Chapter 423. To ordinary people, the news of the Wang family canceling the wedding of the century was just a piece of gossip and speculation about the upper class. But to the Bai family, it was like a bolt out of the blue. Did Wang Shua have a change of heart? Yeah, what's wrong with Wang Shua? Back then, he was the one who insisted on marrying Qin Shue. Now, he canceled the wedding without our knowledge. What is he trying to do? Yeah, Qin Shue, we've already informed our friends and family. Many relatives have already arrived. If we cancel the wedding now, won't we become a laughingstock? Even Bai Jinbin was frowning. Bai Guang Yuan's face darkened. I called Wang Shua several times, but he didn't pick up. I don't know what happened either. Bai Qin Shue was about to cry. After returning from the racecourse yesterday, Wang Shua told her that they would be together forever. How could it change in the blink of an eye? At this moment, in the Wang family's villa, Wang Shua was pleading with a middle-aged man. Dad, Qin Shue and I are truly in love, and our marriage was approved by you. How can you announce the cancellation of our wedding so easily? Why? You still have a nerve to ask me why? Just because you wanted to marry by Qin Shue, you offended Li Changsheng and forced our Wang family out of the capital. 3 generations of our Wang family's foundation were destroyed by your hands. I can't afford to have a daughter-in-law like you. But Li Changsheng has already forgiven me and stopped pursuing the matter between me and Qin Shue, Wang Shua argued. That's what he said, but what if a godlike figure like him attacks our Wang family again on a whim? Even 300 sharpshooters couldn't stop him. What power does our Wang family have to fight against someone like him? This is like a sharp sword hanging over our Wang family's head. No one knows when it will fall, so the best solution is for you to cut off all ties with Bai Qin Shue. That way, our Wang family might have a chance to return to the capital in 3 to 5 years. But Wang Shua still wanted to say something. However, he was interrupted by Lung Lung. There are no buts. If you don't agree, that's fine too. Leave the Wang clan and give up your identity as the successor of the Wang clan. Go and live together with Bai Qin Shue. Anyway, there are many people who want to be the head of the Wang clan. We don't need you. Hearing his father's words, Wang Shua fell silent. Although he wanted to be with Bai Qin Shue, he couldn't give up on his identity as the successor of the Wang clan because he loved beauties more than his empire. At this moment, his phone rang again. Needless to say, it was Bai Qin Shue calling. Don't answer it. The head of the Wang family said coldly. Wang Shua struggled for a moment before he finally picked up his phone. Qin Shue, let's break up. It's impossible between us. On the other end of the line, the phone in Bai Qin Shue's hand slipped and fell to the ground. She called Wang Shuo more than a dozen times, but she didn't expect the result to be like this. What happened to Qinxue? Little Aunt by Ruo Lin asked with concern. Wang Shuo said it's impossible for us. What? Everyone in the Bai family was shocked. This result was already expected when the Wang family canceled the wedding. But when it was confirmed, the Bai family still couldn't accept it. This Wang Shuo is heartless. Bai Mingtang stomped his feet and cursed. What will we do now? Little Aunt by Ruo Lin frowned. It's just the Wang family. If Qinxue doesn't marry him, she can marry someone else. With Qinxue's appearance and our Bai family status, is there a need to worry about not being able to marry? Bai Guangyuan snorted. He was also infuriated, but as the head of the family, he still had some courage. At this moment, Bai Qinxue shook her head with a pale face. I must marry Wang Shuo. Why is that? Although Wang Shuo is the young master of the Wang family, you, Bai Qinxue, are more than enough for him. Are you afraid that you won't be able to find a husband? I'm pregnant with a child. Bai Qinxue's voice was filled with tears. What? Everyone in the Bai family felt as if they were struck by lightning. Old Master Bai was so angry that he slammed the table. Even though his hand hurt, he didn't care. What should we do? The Bai family panicked. Hey, doesn't that Li Chongqing like Bai Qinxue? Go find him and ask him to marry Qinxue. Although he's not as good as Wang Shuo, his status is enough to match Qinxue. And I can see that he really likes Qinxue. With Bai Ruo Lin's suggestion, everyone fell into silence. In the beginning, Bai Qinxue had chosen Wang Shuo between Li Chongqing and Wang Shuo. Now that she was abandoned by Wang Shuo and was pregnant with a child, it was too shameless to go find Li Chongqing. Chongqing is indeed much better than that Wang Shuo. He is affectionate and righteous, and his personal ability is also strong. If Qian Xueqing can marry Li Chongqing, it will undoubtedly be the best choice. Bai Jinbin also said, but will Li Chongqing agree? Bai Guangyuan let out a long sigh. He loved Qinxue so much he should. At this time, Li Chongqing was answering an unfamiliar phone call. Mr. Li, I'm Yi Haoran. It doesn't matter if you don't know me, but you must know my daughter, Yi Shuang. I'm Yi Shuang's father, the head of the Yi family. Yes, I want to treat you to a meal at the biggest hotel in the capital tomorrow. This is mainly Shuang's idea. I haven't seen you for a long time and miss you a lot. Originally, we, the older generation, shouldn't be involved in the affairs of you young people, but I really admire Mr. Li and want to see Mr. Li. Okay, I'll be there on time. Li Chongqing received several phone calls today from the first-rate families in the capital, but he rejected them all. But this Yi Haoran was different. He was Yi Shuang's father, and since he came to the capital, he didn't see Yi Shuang. This made him feel guilty, so he took this opportunity to make up for it. Hanging up the phone, Jiang Tao next to him was curious. Chongqing, did you do something big in the capital? Why are there so many phone calls all of a sudden? They all want to invite you to a meal? It's not a big deal. I just dealt with a few reckless guys. By the way, where did you go yesterday? Did you have fun? Hearing Li Chongqing's question, Jiang Tao couldn't help but sigh. Originally, it was quite fun, but who knew that halfway through, Lin Yin left. It said that something happened at home. What happened? Li Chongqing was puzzled. It said that Lin Yin's father was able to stand in the capital in the past because he was riding on the thigh of a senior member of the Liu family. Who knew that 2 chairmen of the Liu family had died in a row in the past few days? After the 3rd chairman took over, one of his confidants didn't get along with the senior member of the Liu family, so the senior member was retaliated against, and even Lin Yin's father was implicated. So, it's because of the Liu family. Li Chongqing shook his head with a smile and sighed in his heart. This world is really strange. He said to Jiang Tao, call Lin Yin and tell her that I can help her deal with her father's matter. Jiang Tao was quite happy to hear this. Chongqing, I knew that you were resourceful, but I didn't expect you to know someone from the Liu family, one of the 4 major families in the capital. Now Lin Yin doesn't have to cry anymore. Chapter 424. Jiang Tao couldn't wait to call Lin Yin and tell her that she didn't have to worry about her family anymore. Li Changsheng and the Lu family's higher-ups knew each other. Lin couldn't believe it, because she had asked her father if he wanted to ask Li Changsheng for help. At that time, Lin Jinhua shook his head and said that although Li Changsheng was very powerful in Qingzhou, he couldn't get involved in Beijing. He didn't expect to receive such a call in the blink of an eye. Wait for me at home. I'll come to you right away. Lin hurriedly hung up the phone. Not long after, the doorbell rang. Li Changsheng, can you really help my dad settle this matter? My dad has asked all his connections for this matter, but he couldn't find a temple door with a pig's head. As long as you can help us this time, any reward is fine, including myself. When Lin Yin said this, her cheeks were already as red as the sun set. Jiang Tao was stunned as he listened. He thought to himself, Lin Yin usually looks like a pretty girl from a humble family. I didn't expect her to have such a side. Li Changxing couldn't help but be speechless. Lin Yin, I'm helping you because we're friends. Lin Yin also seemed to feel that she was a little emotional just now. She stood there with a red face and didn't speak for a few minutes. Jiang Tao suggested that they go out together to relax. However, Lin Yin said that she was in a hurry and forgot to bring her phone. She was afraid that her father would be worried if he couldn't find her. These days, her father was already frightened and couldn't bear such a shock. Moreover, she didn't have time to tell her father that Li Changsheng could help her. Then why don't we go back with you to get the phone and then ask Tang Bo and Zhong Ting to play billiards? Lin Yin didn't refuse. Originally, the three of them agreed to go back together to get the phone, but Jiang Tao said that he had something to do and left the two of them alone. Li Changsheng and Lin Yin were smart people and naturally knew what Jiang Tao was thinking. However, Lin Yin didn't expose him. The two of them came to Lin Yin's house. As soon as they got out of the car, they saw a black Mercedes-Benz and a young man leaning against the car door. When he saw Li Changsheng, he could not help but frown. Lin Yin, who is he? Li Changsheng could clearly see the nervousness in Lin Yin's eyes. Her hand suddenly grabbed Li Changsheng's sleeve, as if she was very afraid of him. Li Changsheng suddenly understood something. He patted her hand and gave her a reassuring look before looking at the young man. I'm Lin Yin's boyfriend. Who are you? The man's face darkened as he looked at Lin Yin. Lin Yin was also a little stunned, but she quickly reacted and nodded. The other party was instantly enraged. Lin Yin, don't forget your family situation. Yesterday, I asked you to consider whether you wanted to be my girlfriend. Today, you brought a man to me. Why? Are you trying to infuriate me so that your father will be finished sooner? Come with me right now. Otherwise, I will send your dad to the prison to eat peanuts. As he spoke, he impatiently reached out to grab Lin Yin's arm. He relied on the fact that his father was a high-ranking member of the Lu family. In the past, because Lu Wuheng was the head of the family, he had long coveted Lin Yin's beauty. However, he did not dare to do anything overboard. But now, the Lu family was in a different position. As Lu Haifeng's trusted aide, his father's status had also risen. Originally, the battle between the Lu family's high-ranking members would not affect a small figure like Lin Jinhua, who was just an errand boy for the Lu family. It was precisely because of his secret instigation that the Lin family's disaster had happened. Never underestimate these playboys. They might not be able to accomplish anything, but when it came to harming people, their brains were full of schemes. Seeing the other party's hand coming at her, Lin Yin was so scared that she hurriedly hid behind Li Changsheng. The young man missed and could not help but point at Li Changsheng, who was blocking in front of him, and scolded, "Get the F***CK out of my way, or I'll beat you up." However, before he could finish his words, Li Changsheng suddenly raised his foot and kicked him in the stomach. The kick sent him back 5 or 6 steps, and he sat on the ground. The young man, who had been kicked in the stomach, was about to call for help. Li Changsheng had already kicked his phone away. Then he stepped on his cheek with his other foot and kept ravaging it. The other party howled in pain. Soon, his screams attracted attention. 2 cars rushed out from the corner. 6 strong men got out of the cars. The other party even had bodyguards with him. The bodyguards were originally the Lu family's hired thugs and were not professional. When they saw the young master flirting with a girl, they lay in the car and puffed out smoke. If the young man had not shouted, They would not have realized that their young master had been beaten up like this. Seeing the situation, the bodyguards immediately became anxious and rushed toward Li Changsheng. They had just rushed forward when Li Changsheng kicked one of them away with a gorgeous high kick. Before the remaining 5 had time to exert their strength, they saw a blur in front of their eyes. A figure rushed over, and then inexplicably, the 2 in front flew out. Only then did the remaining 3 see clearly that it was Li Changsheng who did it. They immediately stopped. However, they did not dare to rush forward rashly. These people were just street gangsters. They had never seen such a straightforward and fierce fighting style. Lin Yin was stunned. Although she had seen Li Changsheng's kung fu, she still could not help but feel excited. At this time, Li Changsheng was too lazy to pay attention to the 3 fellows who didn't rush over. He walked in front of the young man and kicked his waist. The young man screamed in pain again as he spoke coldly. "Go back and tell your father that Lin Yin and his father Lin Jinhua are the people I, Li Changsheng, want to protect. If he doesn't want to die, he'd better stop." The young man was in tears from the pain. He nodded like a chicken pecking rice. Then he rolled and crawled into his Mercedes-Benz. However, he did not directly escape. Instead, he stepped on the accelerator and rushed toward Lin Yin's current position. Li Changsheng did not expect that the other party would make such a move. He hurriedly stepped forward and blocked in front of Lin Yin. When the car was close to his body, he suddenly kicked out. The front of the car was kicked to change direction and directly fell on the next street lamppost. The glass of a street lamp above broke with a crash. The youth, who had already sunk into madness, was frightened by Li Changsheng's kick to the point of quivering. He wanted to turn the car around, but he saw Li Changsheng had rushed over and kicked the car door into pieces. Then he grabbed his collar and pulled him out of the car and threw him to the ground. The other party was stunned at this moment. In his eyes, Li Changsheng was no different from a devil. Chapter 425. Well, let your father collect your body. Li Changsheng looked at the young man lying on the ground, trembling with fear, and said coldly. Linny next to him was completely stunned. He kicked the car to change its direction. If she didn't see it with her own eyes, she wouldn't believe it. She pulled Li Changsheng's sleeve timidly. "Changsheng, although you know the senior members of the Liu family, you beat him like this. I'm afraid it won't end well." Indeed, in Lin Yin's mind, Li Changsheng could only talk to the senior members of the Liu family at most. She originally counted on Li Changsheng to help plead for mercy and let her father and daughter go. She just didn't expect Li Changsheng to be so violent. He beat the other party like this. It was destined to be a fight to the death. He also said to let the other party's father collect the body. Wouldn't this intensify the conflict? Li Changsheng's lips curved into an indifferent smile. The 3 bodyguards who were scared out of their wits had long wanted to ask for help, but they didn't dare because they were afraid of Li Changsheng's force. Hearing that Li Changsheng took the initiative to let them make a call, they hurriedly dialed a phone number. After a while, a Toyota Prado came aggressively. A middle-aged couple came down from the car in anger. When the woman saw the young man lying on the ground, she immediately screamed and rushed to him. She was like a weeping beauty, as if her parents had died. The man's face was gloomy, and finally his eyes fell on Li Changsheng. "Are you the one who beat my son like this?" There were 7 or 8 business cars behind the other party's car. 40 or 50 people came down from the cars. They were uneven. Obviously, they were forced by the other party. However, with a large number of people, they looked very imposing when they stood together. "You even dare to beat our boss Liu's son. Are you tired of living?" Before the middle-aged man spoke, a guy jumped out. Often the dog that bites doesn't bark. The one that barks is generally a dog that bullies others. Li Changsheng didn't even look at the other party. He just looked at the middle-aged man. "Are you the one who wants to hurt Lin Jinhua and his daughter?" The people of the Liu family really don't learn from their mistakes. "And who are you?" The middle-aged man's face was ice cold. "You hit my son. If you don't give me an explanation today, don't even think about leaving here alive." "Really? Just because you have more people?" Li Changsheng snorted and snapped his fingers. More than a dozen people got out of a few cars not far away. The leader was naturally Qi Xian, and the remaining 15 people stood behind Li Changsheng in unison. Although Li Changsheng's side was much smaller than the other side in terms of numbers, their imposing manner and innate ferocity were not something that the other side could compare to. Immediately, the youth who had been clamoring to teach Li Changsheng a lesson obediently shut his mouth. The middle-aged man's face darkened. "Kid, do you know who I am? I don't care who you are." Without another word, Li Changsheng kicked the middle-aged man's lower abdomen, causing the middle-aged man to stumble back 7 or 8 steps. Just as the others were about to make a move, they saw cold, long swords being pulled out one by one. Immediately, they could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva and stop in their tracks. Relying on the power of the Liu family, they could bully ordinary people. If they really met a tough guy, they would not dare to attack. "How dare you hit my son? I'll kill you." The woman who was crying just now actually ignored the swordsman behind Li Changsheng with long swords and rushed toward Li Changsheng. "Chop! If you dare to touch me, let's see if the Liu family will destroy you." The woman's words made the people who had already retreated come to their senses. Yes, they represented the Liu family. The other side might not dare to chop them. Moreover, they had more people on their side. Immediately, some people picked up bricks and wooden sticks and rushed toward them. Li Changsheng slapped the middle-aged woman's face with disgust, causing her to spin 3 times on the spot and blood to flow out of her mouth. As for the other swordsman, he mercilessly slashed down at another swordsman who was charging at him. Crack! The other party's hand holding the brick was chopped off together with the brick, and he let out a shrill scream. Suddenly, the people in the field were completely dumbfounded. Linene was so scared that her body trembled. The woman who had just been slapped looked at Li Changsheng with a look of horror. She knew that she had really met a tough guy today. As for the middle-aged man who was kicked away by Li Changsheng, he was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He thought, what kind of bad luck has the Liu family had recently? Why do they always meet such a fiend? At this time, Li Changsheng took Lin Yin's hand and said, "Jiang Tao and the others are already waiting for us. Let's go." Lin Yin's brain was in a blank state at this moment. She only reacted when Li Changsheng pulled her into the car. At this time, Qi Xian started the car and drove outside. The dozen or so machete men also got into the car and followed closely behind. In front of the villa, everyone quickly left, leaving the Liu family dumbfounded. "Changsheng, you've made such a big deal this time. I'm afraid you won't stop until you die." Lin Yin looked worried at this moment. "Don't worry. The situation in the capital is so sensitive now. Today's incident will reach the ears of the new patriarch of the Liu family in less than 2 hours. Wouldn't that be even worse?" Lin Yin's face was already pale. "Don't worry. I'll take care of it." Li Changsheng smiled slightly. He thought, when the patriarch of the Liu family knows my identity, he will definitely do the right thing. After staying in the billiard hall for a few hours with Jiang Tao and the others, Li Changsheng didn't play. In his eyes, even the top international billiard masters were just rookies. Lin Yin had been a little uneasy. Finally, her cell phone rang. Seeing that it was her father, Lin Jinhua, she pressed the answer button with her trembling hand. But then she heard a slightly trembling voice. "Xiaoyin, what happened today?" Lin Yin's heart instantly tightened. "Dad, did the Liu family come to take revenge?" This was what she was most worried and afraid of. Indeed, the people from the Liu family are here, but they are not here for revenge. They are here to apologize. They're now downstairs. What's going on? The first person that came to Lin Yin's mind was Li Changsheng. She looked at Li Changsheng inquiringly. Li Changsheng smiled and said, "Let's go. I'll go back with you to have a look." Lin Yin nodded. Li Changsheng said goodbye to Jiang Tao and the others and then left the billiard hall. They took a car back to Lin Yin's villa and saw a row of people kneeling in a neat row downstairs. Lin Jinhua, the only one standing there, was a little uneasy. Chapter 426. The middle-aged man was called Lu He, and he was from a side branch of the Liu family. He could be considered a senior member of the Liu family. After being beaten up, his only thought was revenge, so he couldn't wait to complain to the new family head, Liu Haifeng. At first, Liu Haifeng heard that someone dared to beat up his men. As the new head of the Liu family, he wanted to show his power. However, after hearing Liu He's story, his face became darker and darker. Because according to Liu He, there were 15 machete men behind the man, which was very similar to the lineup Li Changsheng had when he broke into the Liu family. When Liu He said that the man was an ordinary-looking young man in his 20s, and his name seemed to be Li something, Liu Haifeng finally understood. How was it similar? It was obviously him. Liu Haifeng was frightened. The deaths of the previous two heads of the Liu family were still vivid in his mind. He had finally gone to beg Li Changsheng for forgiveness and fear, so that he could secure his position as the head of the family. He didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, his subordinate would provoke Li Changsheng again. Liu Haifeng slapped him on the spot and said, "From now on, Liu He is no longer a member of the Liu family. Whether he lives or dies has nothing to do with the Liu family." Liu He was stunned. At this moment, he realized that he seemed to have provoked someone he shouldn't have. After begging Liu Haifeng to no avail, he was disheartened. Then he brought his wife, son, and subordinates to apologize to Li Changsheng. He didn't know where Li Changsheng lived, so he could only kneel in front of the villa. When Lin Yin's father, Lin Jinhua, came back and saw Liu He thought that he had come to seek revenge. At first, he was scared out of his wits. Who knew that Liu would kneel in front of him and apologize in all kinds of ways, with tears streaming down his face. Lin Jinhua was also a wily old fox. When he saw the situation, he immediately understood something and hurriedly called his daughter. Seeing Li Changsheng and Lin Yin get out of the car, Lin Yin was completely stunned by what she saw. She was already praying that Liu didn't cause trouble for her and her father. He had never imagined that this Li Changsheng would actually be able to make Liu and the others kneel on the ground and apologize. When Liu saw Li Changsheng walking over, he immediately knelt in front of Li Changsheng and begged. Li Changsheng didn't even look at him and coldly said, "Hurry up and get lost." Liu immediately panicked when he heard that. It didn't matter if he left, but he had to find a way to restore his position in the Liu family. Seeing that Liu Haifeng had become the patriarch, his status had also risen along with the tide. His future was bright and bright. How could he be willing to be kicked out of the Liu clan just like that? Liu's wife wept even more miserably. Li Changsheng frowned as he listened to her. She was a shrew. When she had the upper hand, she was crafty and harsh. Now that she had lost the upper hand, she lowered her head lower than anyone else. "Can you stop howling?" Li Changsheng was annoyed, and his voice was a little colder. Hearing Li Changsheng's impatient words, Liu's wife stopped crying. "Mr. Li, I beg you, please let us go." Li Changsheng only said coldly, "Being kicked out of the Liu family is actually the most lenient punishment for you. I'm telling you to get lost now, because I'm giving you a chance to live. Otherwise, if you kneel here for a day and night, as long as I ignore you, Liu Haifeng will understand what I mean. If you leave now, although you'll be kicked out of the Liu family, with the assets you've saved up, you can still live a good life. If you don't leave, then you'll be forced into a dead end. As a senior member of the Liu family, I'm sure you know about those shameful methods." After Li Changsheng finished speaking, Liu was stunned. Finally, he stood up from the ground. "Thank you, Mr. Li, for your advice. I understand." With that, he quickly disappeared from the courtyard with his wife, son, and subordinates. However, Li Changsheng saw a trace of undetectable resentment flash through his eyes when he turned around. He couldn't help but shake his head. A dog can't change its habit of eating shit. With that, he waved his hand in the distance. Qi Xian got out of the car and walked to Li Changsheng's side. "Sir, what orders do you have? Tell the head of the Liu family that I don't want to hear Liu He's name anymore." Qi Xian nodded. "I understand." With that, he walked back into the car. Lin Yin, on the other hand, was puzzled. She didn't know what Li Changsheng meant. Her father, Lin Jinhua, had a trace of deep reverence in his eyes. If he didn't want to hear this name, the best way was to make him disappear. It wasn't until this moment that he deeply understood how this ordinary-looking young man in front of him had made a name for himself in Qingzhou. "All right, Linine, I have something to do, so I'll leave first. I'll visit another day. Don't you want to come in for a cup of tea?" Lin Yin subconsciously asked him to stay. However, Li Changsheng shook his head and turned to walk into the car. Until this moment, Lin Yin still felt like she was in a dream. She looked at her father. "Dad, is this matter resolved just like that?" "Yes." Lin Jinhua sighed. "It seems that Dad has underestimated this Mr. Li. To be able to make the head of the Liu family give up a senior member of the family so easily, his strength is probably comparable to those wealthy families above the four dominant families." Lin Yin didn't quite understand. After all, she was just a university student who didn't know much about the world. However, she roughly understood the meaning of her father's words. That was, Li Changsheng was very awesome. After Li Changsheng left, the father and daughter walked into the villa. "Little Yin, you've been interacting with Li Changsheng these few days. What do you think of him?" Lin Jinhua sat on the sofa and asked casually. "He's very nice. Although he looks a little ordinary, how should I put it? He's very safe and reliable." Hearing his daughter's words, Lin Jinhua sighed. "In the past, when I found out about his identity, I thought that he might be a good match. If I could have such a son-in-law, my status would also rise. However, after today's incident, I suddenly don't think so. Li Changsheng is very outstanding and not simple, but he's not suitable for you." Lin Jinhua's words made Lin Yin's face turn pale. When her father said those things, she wanted to deny it. However, after hearing Lin Jinhua's words, she couldn't help but ask why. Li Changsheng's level is far higher than I imagined. He's not someone you can control. Such a person is naturally incomparably glamorous when he's proud of himself. However, the world he's in contact with is too deep. Even a small wave can crush you. A senior member of the Liu family like Liu He can actually do whatever he wants in Beijing. However, in front of Li Changsheng, he's just an ant that can be crushed easily. "Listen to Dad. You're really not suitable for him. You can be friends with him, but as a couple, you're really not worthy of him." Lin Yin didn't expect her father to say such words. She looked at her father in a daze and finally nodded gently. "I understand. I'll go back to my room first." However, the moment she closed the door, she couldn't help but burst into tears. This was the first time in her 19 years of life that she was moved by a man. Although she was innocent, she was smart to be able to get into Huaqing University. She knew that her father was right. From a moment she saw Liu He and the others kneeling in front of the villa today, she realized the gap between her and Li Changsheng. She just didn't want to face it. Her father's words completely shattered her fantasy and forced her to face reality. Chapter 427. When he returned to Jiang Tao's house, he saw a figure waiting for him. It was the new patriarch of the Liu family, Liu Haifeng. Liu Haifeng was actually very smart. He let Liu He go to the Lin family's villa to apologize while he waited for Li Changsheng downstairs. This was also part of his calculations. After all, Liu He was his subordinate. Although he did something wrong and deserved to die, if he killed Liu He to curry favor with Li Changsheng, it would inevitably disappoint his subordinates. When he just became the patriarch of the Liu family, it would also easily cause his prestige to drop. As long as he did not show up, Li Changsheng could deal with Liu He however he wanted. In the eyes of others, it was Li Changsheng's business. After all, the previous two patriarchs died in the hands of Li Changsheng. He was afraid of Li Changsheng, so it was not shameful for him. But because he did not show up personally, although he kept his position in front of his subordinates, it would inevitably make Li Changsheng feel that he was not sincere enough. Therefore, he personally waited downstairs. Li Changsheng's evaluation of Liu Haifeng was that he was slick and watertight. "Mr. Li, I apologize for today's matter." Liu Haifeng was about to kneel down, but Li Changsheng reached out and helped him up. On the first day, he had already kneeled to Li Changsheng. In any case, He was the patriarch of the Liu family, not Li Changxing's servant. Moreover, he did not do anything wrong. Naturally, Li Changxing wouldn't treat making the head of a noble family kneel as a pleasure. Leaving some dignity for the other party was equivalent to giving a dog a chance to eat meat. It could increase its loyalty and make it easier to order around. Today's matter is in the past. I will not bother with you anymore. But you better control your subordinates, lest a disaster befall you one day. Li Changsheng actually did not have a good impression of the patriarch of the Liu family. Since the other party was willing to be his dog, he would not mind. At this time, Jiang Tao and the others, who were having fun outside, came back. When they saw Liu Haifeng, they thought that an elder from Li Changxing's family had come to visit and invited him upstairs. Liu Haifeng shook his head and refused. He said that he had something to do in a while, and then left. Jiang Tao quietly asked Li Changsheng about the progress of his relationship with Lin Yin. Li Changsheng smiled and shook his head. He said, "She and I are just ordinary friends. It's very pure." "I'm so pure." Jiang Tao curled his lips. Obviously, he scoffed at Li Changxing's words. Zhong Xan, Tang Bo, and the others also joined in. However, many people had envious looks in their eyes. Before this, Lin Yin was the dream lover of many people. Early the next morning, Yi Haoran called Li Changsheng and told him that the banquet had been booked at the Four Nations Hotel. He invited Li Changsheng to come. Li Changsheng smiled and said that there was no problem. Then he asked Jiang Tao where the Four Nations Hotel was. Jiang Tao could not help but open his mouth and said, "The Four Nations Hotel can be regarded as the most luxurious place in the capital. It is said that a mysterious person recently booked the whole floor of the Four Nations Hotel to entertain guests. Could it be to entertain you, Changsheng?" Li Changsheng shook his head. It shouldn't be. The Yi family, in order to show their importance to him, invited him to a luxurious hotel. Li Changsheng did not find it strange. However, if they booked the whole floor, it would be completely unnecessary. After all, it was only Li Changsheng and Yi Shuang's family. The Yi family would not be so exaggerated. Li Changsheng came to the hotel by car and saw 2 rows of bodyguards in black suits standing at the door. Each of them had an extraordinary aura. After seeing Li Changsheng, they bowed in unison. "Greetings, Mr. Li." Li Changsheng was quite speechless. Just as he was about to take a step, he saw Yi Shuang and a couple coming out. After seeing Li Changsheng, Yi Shuang's face was immediately filled with joy. However, she soon pouted again. "Changsheng, you have been in the capital for so long. Why didn't you come to see me? Did the debauchery in the capital make you jealous and forget me?" Hearing Yi Shuang's words, Li Changsheng could not help but smile. He took out a wooden box from his hand and handed it to her. "This is a gift I bought for you. See if you like it." Yi Shuang's taut face was instantly broken. She took the gift with a smile. Seeing this scene, Yi Haoran and his wife could not help but sigh. They took the initiative to step forward and said, "I am Yi Shuang's father, Yi Haoran. Hello, Uncle and Auntie." Li Changxing shook hands with the 2 of them before walking into the elevator together. When walking into the elevator, Yi Haoran said apologetically, "Originally, my family invited you to dinner today, but you also know that your reputation in the capital is too big now. The other aristocratic families in the capital all wanted to meet you. I couldn't refuse because of their feelings. In the end, I had to book the entire floor of the restaurant and hold a huge banquet. I hope Changsheng won't blame me." Hearing Yi Haoran's words, Li Changsheng thought to himself, the Yi family really did book the entire floor. However, although Li Changsheng did not like to be ostentatious, the other party was Yi Shuang's father after all. Hence, he nodded and did not say anything. When Li Changsheng and the rest entered the banquet, the people from the other aristocratic families had yet to arrive. After chatting with Yi Haoran for a while, he was pulled aside by Yi Shuang for a private conversation. Yi Haoran, who originally wanted to improve his relationship with Li Changsheng, felt helpless. Soon, people from the other aristocratic families arrived one after another. They all came over to greet Yi Haoran. However, Those who could stand together and chat with Yihaoran were mostly the top forces in the capital, like the four aristocratic families. The rest could only come over to familiarize themselves. Mr. Li is not here yet, the head of the He family asked in confusion. As one of the four aristocratic families, the He family was slightly inferior to the Wang family and the Liu family in terms of financial resources. However, the He family made its fortune in the gray industry. In terms of power, the He family was undoubtedly the first among the four aristocratic families. He's already here. He's talking to my daughter. Yihaoran's face showed some pride. Previously, he was afraid that something would happen between Yi Shuang and Li Changsheng. However, it was different now. With the legend of the horse farm incident in the suburbs, Li Changsheng's reputation shook the capital. In the face of such a fierce person who could single-handedly destroy an aristocratic family at any time, all the aristocratic families were in awe. A man in a suit with a big gold chain as thick as a chopstick around his neck appeared, immediately causing a commotion. Even the head of the Yi family, Yihaoran, had a strange expression on his face. Why is he here? Exclamations of surprise rang out one after another. If the He family in the capital was said to be a power that made its fortune in the gray industry, then Su Xiaolin, Heavenly King Su, in the north, was a pure gangster. A few days ago, Li Changsheng had brought Shi Yu's swordsman group into the Liu family, which had already let many people in the capital see the strength of the sickly tiger. And Heavenly King Su, who was vaguely suppressing the sickly tiger in the north, had come uninvited today, which would undoubtedly make more people suspicious. Although the major families in the capital were usually high and mighty and did not put these gangsters in their eyes, the moment Su Xiaolin appeared, they still felt fear from the bottom of their hearts. The barefooted were not afraid of the shoe. In their eyes, Su Xiaolin was undoubtedly the barefooted person. The moment Su Xiaolin appeared, Li Changsheng could not help but smile bitterly. He thought to himself, why is this guy here? He was about to go forward to greet and ask. However, Li Changsheng's body suddenly trembled. A few seconds after Su Xiaolin came in, he saw another group of people appear at the entrance of the hall. Old Master Bai Guanyin, Bai Jinbin, and the pale and haggard Bai Qinxue. Chapter 428. What's wrong with Changsheng? Yi Shuang asked in confusion. Nothing. Li Changsheng came back to his senses. Yi Shuang followed Li Changsheng's gaze and sneered. I was wondering who it was. It's this girl from the Bai family. They weren't invited to this banquet. Why are they here? If it was in the past, Yi Shuang wouldn't mind driving the Bai family out. But with Li Changsheng here, she didn't do that. Yi Shuang, why are you here? I couldn't find you. A girl in a yellow dress had a joyful expression on her face. She was wearing a yellow short dress, revealing two slender legs. She walked to Yi Shuang's side and sat down. His gaze swept over Li Changsheng's body without leaving a trace. Li Changsheng was wearing ordinary clothes, but being accompanied by the eldest daughter of the Yi family meant that he wasn't ordinary. Yi Shuang, everyone is looking for you, but you're hiding here to meet your lover. Isn't that a bit unkind? The girl teased. Yi Shuang blushed. What lover? Don't talk nonsense. However, when the other party saw Yi Shuang's bashful state, he couldn't help but reveal a surprised expression. She was just joking, but she seemed to have hit the nail on the head. Don't tell me the eldest daughter of the Yi family really has someone in her heart. The girl's eyes fell on Li Changsheng again. This time, he was even more brazen and careful than before. Li Changsheng saw Bai Qinshue's family sitting at the door. The old man, Bai Guanyin, was looking for something, and Su Xiaolin and the others were sitting next to them. The aristocratic families in the capital called Su Xiaolin a bandit behind his back. But at this moment, when Su Xiaolin was sitting there, even Yihaoran took the initiative to greet him and talk to him. In fact, the aristocratic families in the capital knew that people like Su Xiaolin and Lin Binggu didn't come to the capital not because they didn't dare to compete with the aristocratic families, but because they didn't want to be too arrogant. With the arrival of the girl in yellow, a group of young men and women quickly gathered. None of them had simple identities. They were all the children of the third generation of the various aristocratic families in the capital. Not all rich second-generation heirs were arrogant and despotic. Just like these young men, every one of them was refined and courteous, as gentlemanly as they could be. During this time, the yellow-dressed woman joked that Li Changsheng might be Miss Yi Shuang's secret boyfriend. This caused many people to be surprised, but most of them just laughed it off and took it as a joke. The Yi clan was a prestigious clan that was above the four great clans. It was not easy to be the son-in-law of the Yi clan. At the very least, only one or two of the youths present had the qualifications. Today, Qi Xian didn't wait in the car outside, as usual. He stood not far from Li Changsheng. When one of the young men curiously asked whose bodyguard that was, Yi Shuang happened to look at Li Changsheng. Immediately, the people in the circle started to take Li Changsheng seriously. Young masters like them had bodyguards protecting them at all times when they went out. But it was rare to see a bodyguard as elegant as Qi Xian, to the point that even the young masters present felt ashamed of their inferiority. The kind of bodyguard a person could have by his side probably determined his status. Those nouveau riche generally liked people who were big and burly and looked valiant. But for someone like Qi Xian, who had an extraordinary presence, those who knew their stuff naturally knew that he was either an embroidered pillow with gold on the outside but rotten on the inside, or a true first-class expert. After they sat for a while, Li Changxing got up and walked over to Su Xiaolin's table. Su Xiaolin had already noticed Li Changsheng sitting there, but he didn't dare to disturb Li Changsheng. When he saw Li Changsheng walking over, he immediately stood up. The heads of the aristocratic families in the capital who were talking to Su Xiaolin all looked puzzled. They didn't know who this young man was. Back then, when Yi Haoran came over, Su Xiaolin only nodded slightly. One of the heads of the aristocratic families next to him exclaimed, "Isn't that the sickly Tiger Qi Yu's son, Qi Xian?" When he said this, the faces of the heads of the aristocratic families around him instantly changed. It seemed that only Mr. Li, who had recently become famous in the capital, could make Qi Yu's son be his bodyguard. Su Xiaolin, why are you in the capital? Li Changsheng directly greeted Su Xiaolin, ignoring the respectful gazes of the heads of the aristocratic families around him. Some business happened to pass by the capital. I heard that someone wanted to invite Mr. Li here, so I came uninvited. You're really well informed. Li Changxing sat down next to Su Xiaolin. At another table a few meters away, the people of the Bai family originally thought that Li Changsheng was walking over to their table. They didn't expect him to sit at Su Xiaolin's table. Bai Roland couldn't help but say angrily, "This Li Changsheng is too outrageous. He clearly saw us and didn't come over to say hello." I heard that the Wang family will also be here today. We must find the Wang family today and ask them clearly. Does he think that we won't be able to find him if he hides? It just so happens that Li Changsheng is also here. Qinxue, ask Li Changsheng later if he's willing to marry you. If he's willing, propose to you in front of Wang Shuo and embarrass the Wang family in front of all the aristocratic families. Bai Roland said. The Bai family went to the Wang family to seek justice, but the Wang family had already moved out of their villa. Later, after many inquiries, they found out that the Wang family was actually leaving the capital. Before they left the capital, they were going to attend a banquet to meet a mysterious person. Therefore, the Bai family came uninvited, and the whole family came here. Changsheng, I have something to say to you. Li Changsheng, who was chatting with Su Xiaolin, looked up and saw Bai Qinxue standing in front of him. His expression was very unnatural. You chat with the heads of the families first. I'll go over there. Li Changsheng patted Su Xiaolin's shoulder and went to a corner of the hall with Bai Qinxue. What do you want to say? Facing Bai Qinxue again, Li Changsheng's heart had calmed down. Wang Shuo doesn't want me anymore. When Bai Qinxue said this, tears flowed down uncontrollably. And then, Li Changxing's voice was still very indifferent. I'm pregnant with his child. He will appear at this banquet today. You want me to seek justice for you? Li Changxing's lips hooked up. No, I want you to propose to me in front of him. I was wrong. I want to return to your side. As long as you propose, I will agree. Okay? Bai Qinxue suddenly grabbed Li Changxing's hand, begging with her eyes. Chapter 429. Li Changsheng looked at the woman in front of him who he had once loved and cared for. He couldn't understand how time could change a person to this extent. Finally, he sighed and shook his head under by Qianqiue's pitiful gaze. "I'm sorry, I'm not interested in wearing someone else's shoes, not to mention a pair of discarded shoes. I don't have the habit of collecting trash." He broke free from Bai Qianqiue's hand and turned to walk towards Su Xiaolin. "Li Changsheng, I was wrong about you. You're so heartless and cold-blooded. If Wang Shuo didn't abandon me, do you think I'd look for you? How can you compare to Wang Shuo?" Bai Qianqiue's voice was filled with hysteria. Unfortunately, Li Changsheng didn't stop at all. Bai Guangyuan and the others saw Bai Qianqiue walking back in a daze. They were puzzled and asked, "What's wrong with Qianqiue? Does Li Changsheng have other conditions? Really, if he doesn't cherish this opportunity, he won't have another chance in the future. That's right. Tell him that if he proposes to you in front of everyone today, you'll marry him. Otherwise, he'll regret it," Aunt Bai Roland said loudly. Bai Qianqiue shook her head with a pitiful look on her face. "Changsheng doesn't want me either." With that, Bai Qianqiue laid on the table and cried bitterly. Bai Roland's emotional voice stopped abruptly. The rest of the Bai family also looked at each other and fell into silence. At this time, Yi Haoran walked up to the stage and waved his hand. "Everyone, quiet down. Originally, my family invited Mr. Li for dinner today. However, all the major families in the capital requested to see Mr. Li, so we had to change it to a large banquet. I'm sure everyone is curious about what the famous Mr. Li looks like. Next, let's welcome Mr. Li with a warm round of applause." When Yi Haoran finished speaking, the Bai family didn't take it seriously at first. However, Bai Jinbin frowned. "Mr. Li? Don't tell me it's Li Changsheng?" As soon as he finished speaking, a bad premonition arose in the hearts of the Bai clan members. They only heard that the Wang family was holding a banquet today. The main purpose of this banquet was to invite a mysterious person, but they did not expect that the mysterious person's surname was Li and was called Mr. Li. One had to know that Li Changsheng was also known as Mr. Li in Qingzhou and Chuzhou City. How is that possible? This is the capital. Even though Li Changsheng's position in Qingzhou and Chuzhou is extraordinary, the capital is full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. How could he have the right to strut around? Hearing Bai Roland's words, Bai Jinbin nodded. Thinking about it, that was indeed the case. There were so many aristocratic families in the capital. How could a small Qingzhou compare to them? Just as Bai Roland's voice fell, she saw Li Changsheng standing up from Su Xiaolin's table. Straightening out his wrinkled clothes, he walked step by step towards the stage. At this moment, he was destined to be the center of attention. Everyone's eyes followed him as he moved, and gasps of surprise could be heard. "So he's Mr. Li. He looks very ordinary. I didn't expect him to be the most popular person in the capital. You really can't judge a book by its cover." Li Changsheng walked up the stage, and there was a warm applause from the audience. The woman in the orange skirt also opened her mouth slightly and looked at Yi Shuang. "Yi Shuang, you hit it well. You didn't introduce him to us just now. Otherwise, we could have made friends with Mr. Li. It would have been very honorable to tell others." "Yes, Yi Shuang, this is your fault. As compensation, you must find a time to treat us to a meal. The premise is that you must invite Mr. Li." The surrounding people were all talking at once. Yi Shuang looked at the figure on the stage with an infatuated expression. She muttered to herself, "I knew it. When people know your ability, you will definitely amaze everyone." In order to show our welcome to Mr. Li, the Yi family specially prepared a small gift. Yi Haoran laughed and waved to his daughter below. "Shuang, why aren't you bringing the gift you prepared for Mr. Li?" Yi Shuang stood up with a smile, and then walked up the stage step by step. "Last time at Huashan, you saved my life. I originally wanted to repay you with my body, but I thought that it would be too easy for you. So, I gave you this jade bracelet that I've been wearing since I was young." As she spoke, she took off a bracelet from her wrist, and then personally put it on Li Changsheng's hand. Suddenly, many people below showed envious expressions. No matter how much this jade bracelet was worth, it was worn by the eldest daughter of the Yi family since she was young. Moreover, Yi Shuang's words just now seemed to be a joke, but many people knew that it might not be a joke. All jokes were actually serious, seemingly careless teasing, but in fact, it might be a metaphorical confession. At the Bai family table, the eyes of the Bai family members were red. No wonder he rejected our Qinxue. It turns out that he hooked up with the eldest daughter of the Yi family. Bai Ruolin said hatefully, "It's a pity to miss such an outstanding young man like Li Changsheng." Bai Guangyuan sighed. The most hateful person is that Wang Shuo. If it wasn't for him, Qinxue and Changsheng might have already married. Cousin Bai Mingtang also said angrily. At this time, Bai Ruolin's eyes suddenly showed some hatred. "Look, the dog father and son of the Wang family are here." The Bai family members followed Bai Ruolin's finger to the door. They saw the head of the Wang family striding in with his son Wang Sheng. Sure enough, the news was not wrong. This father and son really came. We must make him give us an explanation in front of all the aristocratic families in the capital. Go and stop him. The Bai family members were about to get up. Just a few steps into the door, Wang Shuo had already knelt on the red carpet with a plop. He kowtowed 3 times in the direction of Li Changsheng, loudly saying, "The sinner of the Wang family, Wang Shuo, is here to apologize to Mr. Li." Everyone's eyes were attracted to the scene. The head of the Wang family quickly stepped forward and said, "My son, Wang Shuo, recklessly offended Mr. Li. Mr. Li has already been very kind to let my Wang family get out of the capital. My Wang family will completely leave the capital within 3 days. We are willing to offer all our properties in the capital to Mr. Li. I only hope that Mr. Li will not hold a grudge against my Wang family." As soon as the head of the Wang family spoke, Li Changsheng understood his meaning. Although they left the capital, they were still afraid of Li Changsheng's revenge. They wanted to use the Wang family's property to completely obtain Li Changsheng's forgiveness. Understanding all this, Li Changsheng slightly nodded and said, "Let your son get up first. What's the matter with this mess?" "Yes." The head of the Wang family hurriedly gave his son a look. Only then did Wang Shuo stand up with a face full of fear. On the other side, the faces of the Bai family members were stiff. Wang Shuo actually knelt in front of Li Changsheng. "What is going on?" Chapter 430. After the Wang family stepped back, a figure stood up. "Mr. Li, I've prepared a gift for you today." Li Changsheng looked confused. He was sure that he had never seen this middle-aged man before. Yi Haoran explained, "This is he Bingxiang, the head of the He family, one of the 4 major families in the capital." He Bingxiang opened a wooden box, and there was a jade ruby inside. What surprised Li Changsheng was that there was a trace of spiritual energy fluctuation on the jade ruby. It was a magic weapon. "This is a treasure passed down from our ancestors. I hope Mr. Li can accept it." Li Changsheng was sure that the head of the He family knew how precious the jade ruby was, but he didn't hesitate to give it to him. He probably had something to ask of him. Before Li Changsheng could say anything, Lu Haifeng, the head of the Lu family, also walked out. "Mr. Li, this is my gift for you." He was holding a file bag in his hand. Many people's eyes were filled with curiosity as they thought, could it be that there's a bank card in this folder? Or something else? Lu Haifeng explained, "There are 1/10 of the shares of all the companies of the Lu family. Mr. Li, please accept it." When these words were spoken, everyone present was shocked. As one of the 4 major families in the capital, 1/10 of the shares of all the companies of the Lu family was an astronomical figure. Not only the head of the Lu family, but the heads of the other families also spoke up to give Li Changsheng gifts. All of the items that were taken out were valuable items or real estate. Li Changsheng didn't say anything. At this moment, Yi Haoran also walked down from the high platform. He walked to the front of the various family heads and cupped his hands in salute to Li Changsheng. "For today's banquet, we have something to ask of Sir Li. We hope that Sir Li will accept our gifts and save the lives of the various families in the capital." As soon as he finished speaking, the heads of the various families cupped their hands and bowed. Li Changsheng was confused. What's going on? Li Changxing frowned. Su Xiaolin, who was sitting there, suddenly stood up and said to Li Changsheng, Mr. Li, I know what the family heads want from you. Seeing Su Xiaolin stand up, some people who didn't know the relationship between Su Xiaolin and Li Changxing couldn't help but say, Boss Su, didn't you also ask for Mr. Li? When that person returns, I'm afraid the first ones he'll deal with will be you and Yu. Su Xiaolin laughed when he heard that. If you want Mr. Li to help, you naturally have to beg. But I, Su Xiaolin, am not begging. I, Su Xiaolin, am Mr. Li's little brother. Isn't it natural for Mr. Li to help me solve my problem? Hearing Su Xiaolin's words, many people present were dumbfounded. Who would have thought that the famous heavenly King Su of the North was actually Li Changxing's little brother? Li Changxing nodded slightly. What Su Xiaolin said was the truth. It was his duty to help his little brother deal with his troubles. Using the word beg between him and Su Xiaolin would make him seem like an outsider. What's going on? Hurry up and tell me. Li Changsheng said impatiently. Su Xiaolin actually had something to say and didn't tell him. It made him a little unhappy. Su Xiaolin naturally knew Li Changxing's temper and immediately laughed. Actually, I didn't come to the capital because I had something to do. I came here specifically to solve a small problem. Li Changsheng smiled. Looking at the attitude of the heads of the major families in the capital, how could it be a small problem? Su Xiaolin chuckled. Of course it's a big problem for others, but with Sir, isn't it a small problem? To be honest, there was a hero of the pugilistic world in the capital a few years ago. His name is Fu Changqing. The entire north, including the capital, is under his rule. Later, Yu and I rose up in the north and were suppressed by his forces. We joined forces with the major families in the capital to overthrow his rule. In the end, he took his family and fled to the ends of the earth. There was no news of him since then. I didn't expect that he would actually appear a few days ago. He has a group of fugitives under him, and every one of them is an expert. Many clans that once went against him have been killed, and that Fu Changqing has learned a set of strange witchcraft that can burn people into ashes out of thin air. According to the news, he will arrive in the capital in a few days. After Su Xiaolin finished speaking, the heads of the major families in the capital nodded. Yi Haoran added, Boss Su's news is still a little delayed. Just last night, a head of a first-rate family in the capital was killed in the club. The news hasn't spread yet. This Fu Changqing came aggressively, and his methods are strange and bloody. I'm afraid only Sir Li can stop him. Are you trying to use violence to curb violence? Li Changxing smiled. This Fu Changqing was simply a replica of himself. Originally, Li Changxing was unwilling to intervene in the affairs of the major families in the capital. However, since it involved Su Xiaolin and Yu, Li Changxing couldn't stand by and do nothing. At this time, Qi Xian also cupped his hands and said, Sir Li, my father also called me. He told me to wait until after the banquet to ask for your help. Since Uncle Su is here, I'll also tell everyone the news my father got. According to the results of my father's latest investigation, Fu Changqing should be a disciple of a sect called the Witchcraft Cult in Miaojiang. He learned witchcraft and can control fire. Not long after he appeared, my father got the news and sent people to stop him. In the end, more than 10 top assassins were all killed by him. I see. Li Changsheng had just nodded when he heard a boom, and the glass in the hall shattered. Then, he saw a few figures rushing in. Everyone present was shocked. The hall where the banquet was held today was on the 13th floor. Someone actually broke through the window on the 13th floor. How could this be? Li Changxing also revealed some surprise in his eyes. Flying in the air was probably something only a Vajra martial artist could do. However, when the few figures entered the hall, he couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. So it's just using a special artifact to achieve flying. With Li Changxing's current strength, killing 1 or 2 Vajra martial artists wasn't a big deal. However, if there were more than 10 Vajra martial artists, even he would have to flee. Fortunately, the strongest among the few people who came in was only at the innate realm. A total of 16 people appeared in front of everyone. The leader was a middle-aged man who wore a white robe and looked very refined. However, many family heads in the capital had already exclaimed, Fu Changqing. Under everyone's respectful gaze, Fu Changqing sneered and swept across everyone's face. He laughed and said, Everyone, it has been 20 years. We meet again. Chapter 431. As Fu Changqing appeared, the faces of the family heads in the capital turned purple, and their eyes were filled with awe. Rumor had it that Fu Changqing knew sorcery and could control goo. He could burn a person to a crisp within a few meters. Although the heads of these aristocratic families were high and mighty in the capital, strategizing, possessing wealth that others would never be able to obtain even if they worked for several lifetimes. Luxury cars were everywhere, and the places they went in and out of were even more high-end places. But in the end, he was still a weak mortal. He feared Fu Changqing, who had miraculous abilities like a tiger. So he's Fu Changqing. It said that 20 years ago, he was the one who called the shots in the capital and the entire north. In merely a single night, the Iron and Blood dynasty that he established collapsed with a loud bang. That is how the current situation of the world came to be. Su Xiaolin and the sickly Tiger Qi Yu also rose at that time. Many people said that Su Xiaolin and Qi Yu did not enter the capital because of Fu Changqing's incident. Now that Fu Changqing is here, it seems like he's up to no good. Many of those who had not participated in the grudges of the past, compared to the masters of the various aristocratic families, were more at ease, as if they were watching the fire burning across the river. Today is destined to be a day of unrest. The former overlord Fu Changqing is back for revenge. Once he succeeds, the entire situation in the north will change drastically. Do you guys think that Mr. Li can really stop Fu Changqing? It said that Fu Changqing knows sorcery. The woman in orange looked at the people at the same table and whispered, He's just a small heretic. How can he be a match for Changsheng? Changsheng can crush him with one finger. Yi Shuang said unhappily when she heard someone questioning Li Changsheng's ability. I don't think so. They both know sorcery, but Fu Changqing is obviously much older than Li Changsheng. Naturally, he has learned sorcery for much longer than Li Changsheng. That means his ability is higher than Li Changsheng's. The woman in orange shook her head. Everyone nodded in agreement, thinking that what she said made sense. Whether it's on TV or in legends, aren't those cultivators more powerful as they get older? Just as everyone was discussing, a young man stepped forward and aimed a pistol at Fu Changqing's forehead. Oomph. I don't believe that a so-called immortal cultivator can block a bullet. The moment the young man stepped out, many people present were somewhat dumbfounded. The head of the He family, He Bingxiang, had an anxious look on his face. Zizhang, don't be rash. At the same time, many people recognized the young man's identity. He was the He family's second young master, He Zizhang. It was said that he had been studying abroad all these years, and no one knew when he had returned to Beijing. Zizhang, come back quickly. He Bingxiang reprimanded loudly. His son had just returned from abroad last night. He was a gun enthusiast. Yesterday, when he heard that Fu Changqing had used sorcery to come back for revenge, he was full of disapproval. His tone was full of disdain for Li Changsheng, who had recently become famous in the capital. At that time, when the head of the He family came out to present the gift to Li Changsheng, he warned his son in advance not to come out and cause trouble. It was just that he didn't expect that he would appear at this time instead of causing trouble. He Clan's clan head, back then, you did your best to deal with my Fu clan. Your son is quite handsome, but he is a little too stupid. Fu Changqing snorted coldly. A black shadow darted out from behind him. Before He Zizhang could pull the trigger, the gun in his hand flew out of his hand and into the other party's hand. Then, the other party pressed the gun against his head. Don't hurt my son. The head of the He family was so scared that his face turned pale. However, Fu Changqing laughed loudly. Back then, you caused my Fu clan to fall from the clouds. We were like rats on the street, living in constant fear. Now that I've killed your son, I'll let you have a taste of pain. No. The head of the He family was so scared that his face turned pale. If you don't want your son to die, kneel down and kowtow to me." Fu Chanqing sneered. He Zizhong, who had been so righteous a moment ago, was so scared that his legs were trembling. All his confidence came from the gun in his hand, but it wasn't until now that he realized that guns weren't omnipotent. There was such a magical martial art in the world. "He Zizhong, why aren't you kneeling down? Do you want your son to die?" Fu Chanqing said coldly. The head of the He family couldn't help but look at Li Changsheng for help. Only Li Changsheng had the ability to save them. Fu Chanqing, who had been paying attention to the head of the He family, couldn't help but follow the gaze of the head of the He family. When he saw Li Changsheng, there was some doubt on his face. "Mr. Li, please help us," the man said. The head of an aristocratic family next to him was almost 60 years old, but at this moment he knelt down in front of Li Changsheng with a plop. At first, everyone was shocked when they heard that Fu Chanqing had come back for revenge, but after all, they hadn't seen it with their own eyes. But now it was different. Fu Chanqing hadn't made a move yet. With the skills displayed by his subordinates, no one present except Li Changsheng could stop him. "Mr. Li, please help us." The other heads of aristocratic families also knelt down. At this moment, Fu Chanqing couldn't help but think of something. He looked a little vigilant and said proudly, "I am Fu Chanqing, a third-generation disciple of the witchcraft cult. You must be Mr. Li, who has been famous in the capital recently, right? You and I will mind our own business. Seeing that we are both cultivators, Mr. Li can take your friends and leave." Hearing the other party's words, Li Changsheng shook his head. "Originally, I didn't want to interfere in your affairs. I didn't accept the gifts they gave me just now, but a few of my friends have old grudges with you. Are you willing to let them go?" "Which friends?" Fu Chanqing asked coldly. "Su Xiaolin, Sickly Tiger, Qi Yu, and the capital's Yi family, including the Lu family." Hearing Li Changxing's words, the other party's face was filled with anger. "Sickly Tiger, Qi Yu, and Su Xiaolin are my main targets for revenge this time. You want me to let them go? Impossible. So you're saying that you're forcing me to meddle in other people's business." Li Changxing sighed and took a few steps forward. "Just now, I announced that I have accepted all the gifts that the heads of aristocratic families gave me. They will also be under my protection. As long as I, Li Changsheng, am around, no one can touch them." Hearing Li Changxing's words, the heads of aristocratic families heaved a long sigh of relief. Fu Chanqing's face instantly darkened to the extreme. "Friend, you really refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Do you really think that just because you know a few spells, you can go against me? You're too naive." As soon as he finished speaking, he took a step forward and waved his hand. A ball of flame burned fiercely in his hand. Even from a distance, one could feel the scorching temperature of the flame. Chapter 432. Does he really know witchcraft? The moment the flame appeared in Fu Chanqing's hand, everyone present showed a look of horror on their faces. This was not a magic trick, but a real flame. It could be clearly seen that the air was distorted under the burning of the flame. The next moment, Fu Chanqing waved the flame in his hand, which turned into a raging fire dragon in the air and rushed toward Li Changsheng. The people standing around Li Changsheng hurriedly dodged. The flame exploded under Li Changsheng's feet and directly blasted a deep pit, melting the floor and the cement below, and the whole hall trembled. From beginning to end, Li Changxing's face was expressionless, and he didn't even have the slightest intention to dodge. "Haha, how about it? Are you scared, silly?" Fu Chanqing laughed proudly. "Boy, for the sake of our fellow cultivators, I have already given you a chance to leave, but you didn't cherish it. Then you will die with Su Xiaolin." "Fu Chanqing, Mr. Li can block guns and cannons. Do you think you can deal with Mr. Li with these little tricks?" Yi Haoran, the head of the Yi family, stood up and said loudly, "Block bullets? Do you think he can really do it? It's just an illusion. I've already learned that the Wang family sent 300 sharpshooters to deal with him. The reason why he's able to remain unscathed under the bombardment of bullets and rocket launchers is because he's fast enough and has a substitution illusion." With that, he pointed to the subordinate who was holding a gun against He Zizhang's head and said, "You shoot at me." The subordinate nodded, turned the muzzle, and pulled the trigger without hesitation. Bang! The bullet flew past Fu Changqing's body and hit him directly. Fu Changqing stood there as if nothing had happened. While everyone was wondering, Fu Changqing pointed to a pillar behind him. "Look, the bullet is there." Everyone looked at it attentively. Sure enough, there was a bullet embedded in the wooden pillar. This is Li Changqing's trick, but he uses extremely fast speed to avoid the bullet and create an illusion for everyone. The principle of avoiding the bullet is here, and the principle of avoiding the rocket launcher is the same. After that, he looked at Li Changsheng with a sneer. "Mr. Li, I wonder if I'm right? This trick is no problem to deal with ordinary aristocratic families, but it's just a small trick to deal with me." When Fu Changqing's words fell, many people revealed a look of realization. The faces of the surrounding aristocratic family heads were ashen. His heart, which had originally been at ease, was in his throat again. If it was really as Fu Changqing said, then Li Changsheng did not seem to be as powerful as imagined. Can he really stop Fu Changqing? Not to mention them, even Wang Shaw, who had personally witnessed Li Changqing's display of invincible might, had a look of doubt in his eyes. However, although what Fu Changqing said seemed to be very reasonable, Wang Shua always felt that there was something wrong with what he said, but he couldn't remember it for a while. "Are you done? Are you going to die now that you're done?" Just when everyone was shocked by Fu Changqing's words, Li Changqing spoke coldly. "You're only at the 9th level of qi refinement, relying on some chemicals to display flames. Compared to the real great Tao of fire control, it's not worth mentioning at all. How dare you talk nonsense in front of me?" When Li Changqing spoke, Fu Changqing's expression suddenly changed, but soon he revealed a sneer. "As a fellow cultivator, it's not surprising that you can see some of my secrets. However, since you dare to underestimate my flames, I'll show you how powerful my fire control technique is." As soon as he finished speaking, raging flames appeared in Fu Changqing's hands. Then, the two balls of flames collided with each other under the push of his hands. Suddenly, it was as if they had turned into a small sun, and the temperature of the entire room reached a terrifying level. Many people felt their skin dry. "Go to hell!" Fu Changqing shouted coldly. The flames turned into a fire dragon in the air again, but it was thicker and more powerful than before. "It's so hot. I feel like I'm going to be roasted to death." The surrounding aristocratic family heads cried out in horror. Several girls even screamed. Everyone's face turned pale. The temperature was frighteningly high, even though they were so far away. If they were touched by the fire dragon, they would probably be burned to ashes in an instant. "Kid, kneel down and kowtow now, and I may spare your life." Fu Changqing looked at Li Changsheng with a sneer on his face. He had been studying in the witch god cult for 19 years, and this fire control technique was his proudest move. With the help of some chemicals, he could display power that was far beyond his level. Originally, he didn't intend to use this move, but Li Changsheng was rumored to be very mysterious. He didn't want to make any mistakes, so he used it to ensure that nothing would go wrong. In his opinion, the outcome was already doomed from the moment he used this move. He was just a young boy. Even if he started learning Taoist magic in his mother's womb, how could he compare with him? He was the one with the best aptitude among the third-generation disciples of the witch god cult. Otherwise, the elder of the witch god cult wouldn't have made an exception to accept him as a disciple when he fled to the 100,000 Miao land. "Changsheng, be careful." Although she knew Li Changsheng's ability, Yishuang couldn't help but blurt out. The people of the Bai family at the door looked as if they had seen a ghost. This Li Changsheng actually provoked such a powerful enemy. This time, he's dead for sure. Bai Qianxue couldn't help but close her eyes. Today, Li Changsheng rejected her. Although she hated Li Changsheng, she didn't hate Li Changsheng to the point where she wanted him to die. The old master, Bai Guangyin, also sighed. Although he was experienced and knowledgeable, he had never seen such immortal magic. On the other hand, his aunt, Bai Rulin, had a carefree look in her eyes. It's good that he's dead. If he's dead, There will be one less person to laugh at the Bai family. At this moment, under everyone's horrified eyes, Li Changsheng just sneered and raised his hand toward the fire dragon that was roaring. I told you this is just a small trick. If you want to hurt me, you'll have to go back and practice for another 100 years. As soon as he finished speaking, a strong wind suddenly blew around Li Changsheng. Under the strong wind, the fire dragon that was originally rushing toward Li Changsheng was instantly changed direction by the wind. Then, the fire suddenly became more than 10 times bigger, like a rolling sea wave. It surged back toward Fu Changqing's position. Li Changsheng stood there. His calm and composed expression was deeply engraved in the minds of everyone present. He was like a god. Wang Sha, the young master of the Wang family, suddenly slapped his forehead and exclaimed, "I remember now. Fu Changqing just said that he dodged the bullet, but Li Changsheng caught the bullet with his hand. They are not the same concept at all." Chapter 433. Although Fu Changqing's fire control relied on chemicals, it was undeniable that it was very powerful. The attack just now could burn the floor and the cement below. However, there were still flaws in using external forces. If it was a real divine ability, he could control the flames as if they were his arms. If he wanted to stop it, he would have to use more powerful means to break it. However, Fu Changqing's control of the flames was limited to turning the flames into a fire dragon and charging at the target. In Li Changqing's eyes, this was just a small trick. The moment the flames rushed over, Li Changsheng struck out with his palm. The flames immediately changed direction under the wind. Moreover, the wind increased the intensity of the fire, making it more than 10 times stronger than before. All of a sudden, it swept towards Fu Changqing's position in torrents. Rumble! The flames roared, and the scorching light shone on everyone's faces in the hall. It directly enveloped Fu Changqing. He didn't expect that his spell would end up being the victim in the end. "Ah!" Fu Changqing screamed. His entire body was burned by the raging flames, and he rolled on the ground. His subordinates were almost instantly burned to ashes under the flames. At this moment, the screams echoed in the hall. After rolling on the ground for more than 10 seconds, Fu Changqing finally stopped moving. The flames in the hall gradually extinguished. Everyone stared at everything in front of them with their mouths agape. Fu Changqing, who came aggressively, died in Li Changqing's hand just like that. After a long time, everyone woke up from a dream. Li Changsheng is really a god. Yi Haoran, the head of the Yi family, hurriedly cupped his hands and bowed. The others were also shocked. Although they were in awe of Li Changsheng in the past, they didn't see it with their own eyes. But now, they knew what a divine ability was. On the other side, the people of the Bai family were also dumbfounded, especially by Qin Shue. They finally understood that Li Changsheng's strength was not only because he knew Qi Yu and Su Xiaolin, but also because he had the most powerful strength in the world. He could control the life and death of people with a single word. At this moment, all the wealthy families in the capital, those people that the Bai family had to look up to, were all bowing their heads. One man can fight against 1,000,000 masters. If the Bai family could have such a son-in-law, no matter how wealthy they were in the capital, as long as they had Li Changsheng, they would be the biggest wealthy family. What a pity we actually missed such a person. Bai Guangyuan sighed. When he thought about how Bai Qinshue had found Wang Shuo as her boyfriend, they thought that they had picked up a treasure. Now that he thought about it, it was not like throwing away a watermelon to pick up a sesame seed. It was simply ridiculous. Unlike the Bai family's regret, Yi Shuang looked at Li Changsheng with stars in her eyes and said proudly, "I knew it. That Fu Changqing, Li Changsheng can crush him with one finger." Everyone at the table nodded in agreement, especially the orange-clothed woman next to her. She thought to herself, "This Yi Shuang is really lucky to have met such a mysterious person like Mr. Li. Why don't I have such luck?" Seeing that everyone had calmed down a little, Yi Haoran immediately asked the service staff to clean up the scene. After Li Changsheng sat down, there was no longer any noise in the hall. Everyone's eyes were on Li Changsheng's table. This table was filled with the heads of various families and the top bosses in the capital. However, in this group of bosses, other than Li Changsheng, there was also a young figure, and that was Yi Shuang. Originally, Yi Shuang wanted to sit with the young people in the circle, but after being called by Li Changsheng, she sat next to Li Changsheng. The bosses in the capital naturally did not dare to have any objections. There was only envy in their eyes. They could only blame themselves for not having such a beautiful daughter, who happened to be chosen by Mr. Li. Yi Haoran was so happy that he could not close his mouth. Mr. Li helped us defeat the enemy. From now on, the He family will follow Mr. Li's lead. He Bingxiang took the initiative to speak. At this moment, his son, He Zizhong, looked at Li Changsheng with a bit of fear and fanaticism in his eyes. In the past, he was obsessed with guns and felt that firearms were omnipotent. Only now did he know that there were immortal spells in the world. The Liu family will also follow Mr. Li's lead. The head of the Liu family, Liu Haifeng, immediately echoed. Seeing that the heads of the two families in the capital had expressed their opinions, the Zhao family, Wu family, and Xie family all spoke up. In the distance, the father and son of the Wang family, who were not qualified to sit because they had offended Li Changsheng, could not help but sigh when they saw this scene. After today, the throne of the number one person in the capital will belong to Li Changsheng. Father, what should we do? At the Bai family's table, Bai Jinbin looked at the old master, Bai Guanyin. The people of the Bai family had the most complicated expressions. Today was undoubtedly the biggest blow to them. What can we do? Go back to Qingzhou. Our Bai family is already a joke in the capital. Old Master Bai looked more than 10 years older. He stood up and walked out shakily. The people of the Bai family nodded and could not help but look at Li Changsheng, who was sitting at the table in the middle. In the end, they could only walk out helplessly. At the table, Li Changsheng looked at the heads of the families who were respectful to him and sighed. Although Fu Changqing has been killed, you may not be able to rest easy from now on. Fu Changqing was a disciple of the witchcraft cult. If he died in the capital, I believe it won't be long before his sect finds out. He was just a third-generation disciple. The next one who comes will be many times stronger than him. As soon as Li Changqing finished speaking, the faces of the heads of the families instantly turned pale. Mr. Li, is what you said true? He Bingxiang's hand that was holding the teacup trembled, and his voice trembled. Why would I lie to you? However, since I've helped you and promised to help you solve the problem, I naturally won't leave without helping you. However, your gifts are only enough to cover the price of Fu Changqing. It's far from enough to help you deal with the entire witchcraft cult. Mr. Li, I'm willing to give you another 10% of the shares. Liu Haifeng, the head of the Liu family, gritted his teeth and said, in addition to the 10% that he had given to Li Changsheng, he had 20% in total. This was almost more than the shares that he, the head of the family, owned. Liu Haifeng was also a ruthless person. In order to save his own life, he was very bold. The He family is also willing to give you some shares. He Bingxiang hesitated for a moment and said. The other heads of the families were about to speak, but Li Changsheng waved his hand and stopped them. The wealth of the secular world is just a string of Arabic numbers to me. If it wasn't for my cultivation, do you think I would covet your wealth? This time, I'll give you a collective task. If you succeed, I'll help you deal with the witchcraft cult. If you fail, then you'll have to pray for yourself. Sir, please tell us. He Bingxiang hurriedly cupped his hands and said, buy me any mountain in the capital. I want to build a villa on the mountain. Chapter 434. Mr. Li, you want to build a villa? Yi Haoran blurted out. That's right. I want you to buy any mountain in the capital and build a big villa on it. Hearing Li Changqing's words, everyone was a little dumbfounded. Buying a mountain in the capital was not a joke. Not to mention the astronomical price. The layers of procedures and connections needed to buy an entire mountain were not something that ordinary people could do. However, looking at the many top families in the capital present, It was not difficult to combine these forces and connections. However, people were a little confused. Mr. Li, if you want a villa, I have more than a dozen under my name. You can choose. It doesn't matter if I give all of them to you. Master Lu said so. Li Changsheng shook his head. The villa is secondary. What I want is a mountain. Get this done within a month. I'll help you deal with the witch cult. Li Changsheng's tone was unquestionable. He stood up and said, "Thank you for your hospitality today. The banquet will end here." After that, he said goodbye to Yi Shuang and turned to walk out of the hall. Su Xiaolin hurriedly got up and followed. Because Su Xiaolin had his own villa in the capital, he did not go back to Jiang Tao's house. After returning to Su Xiaolin's villa, he finally could not help but ask, "Sir, you helped the great families deal with the witch cult. They are willing to pay any price. Why do you only want a mountain?" "Of course, I have my reasons." Because Su Xiaolin was one of them, Li Changsheng had nothing to hide. He said, "When I burned Fu Changqing to death, I sensed that the cultivation method they cultivated was a kind of baleful yin qi. The evil spirit is also a kind of evil spirit. The 9 revolutions of divine demons that I cultivate requires the evil spirit between heaven and earth to temper my body. The reason why I'm willing to help them deal with the witch cult is not only for them, but also for myself. If my guess is right, there should be an earth evil spirit vein in the witch cult, which is a good place to condense evil spirit." The more Su Xiaolin listened, the more confused he became. What does this have to do with building a villa in the capital? Beside him, Qi Xian was also curious. The capital city is where the imperial city is located, the land of the dragon veins. Just the baleful yin energy alone is far from enough to temper the physique. It needs to be matched with the baleful yang energy. The dragon qi in the capital is also known as the true dragon fiend. It is a type of yang fiend. I'll find a mountain in the capital and set up a formation to gather the dragon qi. Then, I'll use the dragon qi to nourish the yin qi. This will allow my physical body to reach another level. At this point, Li Changsheng could not help but shake his head when he saw Su Xiaolin and Qi Xian's seemingly understanding eyes. Although these two people's kung fu was good, it was still martial arts in the human world. How could they know anything about cultivation? It was a pity that neither Su Xiaolin nor Qi Xian had the talent for cultivation. Otherwise, he could teach them cultivation methods. The witchcraft cult is in Miaojiang. This matter should not be delayed. Tomorrow, I will set off for Miaojiang. The matter of building a villa on the mountain in the capital will be left to the two of you. In a while, I will transfer the blueprints and build according to my blueprints. After Li Changsheng finished explaining the follow-up matters, he went into the house to cultivate. After this battle, he seemed to have comprehended something and showed signs of breaking through to the Vajra realm. The next day, Li Changsheng directly boarded the plane to Miaojiang. In 100,000 Miaojiang, there were many races living in the depths of the mountains. It was said that there were descendants of the witchcraft tribe who worshipped the demon god Qiyu. He could only arrive at a city on the edge of Miaojiang by plane. After arriving there, he reversed the car and took a bus for a few hundred miles before arriving at a mountain village on the periphery. After walking for a day, he walked out of the bus station and could not help but take a deep breath of the fresh air outside. The sky was high and the clouds were light. He felt that the spirit Qi here was much richer than in the capital. After walking out of the bus station, Li Changsheng could not help but feel that this place was still relatively backward. Houses could be seen everywhere. Even 6-story buildings were rare. There was a dilapidated square outside. Many men and women wearing distinctive ethnic costumes were coming and going. Of course, there were also a small number of people like Li Changsheng who wore casual clothes. This is really a backward place. Li Changsheng sighed. He was planning to find a small hotel nearby, to stay, and find a way to rent a car to enter Miaojiang tomorrow. In fact, Li Changsheng did not have much hope that he could rent a car. This place was really too backward. Maybe he had to walk in by himself. Although Li Changsheng's speed might be faster on foot, it was not very comfortable after all. Not long after leaving the bus station, Li Changsheng found that there were several figures following behind him sneakily. He deliberately walked to a side alley. As soon as he stepped into the alley, he saw that the front and back of the alley had been blocked. Then a black cloth bag fell from the sky and then turned into a 3-meter mouth, shrouding Li Changsheng. It's actually a magic tool. Li Changsheng's eyes showed a bit of surprise. Just as he was about to break the other party's low-level magic tool, he suddenly noticed something and let the cloth bag take him in. After the cloth bag took Li Changsheng, it changed to the size of a palm and fell into the hands of a young man. After the young man hung up the cloth bag, a few young people in the same clothes immediately walked up from behind. Senior brother, together with the person we just caught, we should have enough, right? We can report to the elders now. The senior brother, surnamed, he chuckled and said, yes, there are too few outsiders. It was not easy to gather enough people. We can finally report to the elders now. After saying that, he turned around and walked out of the alley and sat in an off-road vehicle. After leaving the town, he drove into the depths of the mountain. The moment Li Changsheng was sucked in, a wave of energy immediately attacked his body. After Li Changsheng circulated the vital essence in his body to disperse the force, he opened his eyes and saw more than a dozen people lying at his feet. These people had all fainted. Without exception, they were all teenagers in their late teens or early 20s. Why did the witchcraft cult catch so many ordinary teenagers? Since Li Changsheng was here, he decided to take things as they came. He casually walked to a place and sat down cross-legged. The reason why he did not resist when the bag fell, just now, was that he sensed the aura of the witchcraft cult on the bag. After staying in the bag for about 5 or 6 hours, a ray of light suddenly shone in from the outside. Then, the scene in front of him tumbled. Li Changsheng and the dozen or so youths were all released. As soon as Li Changsheng landed, he heard a click and the sound of a lock. He looked up and saw that they were thrown into a dungeon. Just as Li Changsheng was looking around, he heard a surprised voice from around him. "Boss, look, someone is awake." He turned around and saw a bald man sitting on a wrought-tan chair outside the iron bars with a teapot in his hand. Behind him stood 2 rows of strong men. Chapter 435. I didn't expect one of them to have such a good physique to wake up so early. Why don't you wake the others up and teach them the rules? The door of the dungeon was opened as soon as the bald man gave the order. Those people carried iced water in their hands. They walked in and directly poured it on the bodies of the youths lying on the ground. Li Changsheng didn't get to enjoy the treatment because he had woken up earlier than the others. After a few basins of ice water were poured on them, the young men slowly woke up. They were so cold that their bodies were shivering. Some of them even yelled when they woke up. What is this place? What do you want?" However, without exception, those who yelled were all beaten up by the fierce-looking strong men. In the end, they all became obedient. Li Changsheng, on the other hand, had been silently watching all of this from beginning to end. He didn't have any extra reaction. In the eyes of the bald man and the others, it was obvious that he was scared silly. Li Changsheng wasn't the only one who had such an expression. Some of the young men were also in a daze. After dealing with the young men who were yelling, the place became completely quiet. The bald man snorted and said, "You must be curious about where this place is and who we are since you've just woken up. I'll help you answer your doubts now. This is the #1 dungeon of the witchcraft cult, and I'm the manager of this dungeon. My surname is Gua, and my name is Guadagno. The reason why I've captured you here is that the elders of the witchcraft cult are short of witch soldiers. They want to train a few of you. There are a total of 7 dungeons in the witchcraft cult, and you'll be arranged to fight with the people who are captured from the remaining 6 dungeons. The few who win in the end will be lucky enough to become the witch soldiers of the elders, while the rest of the losers can only die." After Guadagno finished speaking, he continued, "Although you may not understand what I'm saying, you'll understand it slowly. By the way, the elders call this method goo cultivation. Whoever can become the goo king will have a chance to live." Guadagno patted his clothes and stood up from the wrought-tan chair. He ordered one of his subordinates, prepare some food for them. After they eat and drink their fill, the first round of battle will begin at night. I hope you can survive until the end. After saying that, He turned around and left. The door of the dungeon closed with a click. Not long after, someone prepared food. There was wine and meat, and it was actually quite sumptuous. How could these people be in the mood to eat after being caught? On the other hand, Li Changsheng picked up a steamed bun and smelled it. He couldn't help but frown. There seemed to be some kind of hormone in the food which could stimulate one's potential after eating it. Raising goo? Wizard soldier? He couldn't help but frown. The others present might not have understood, but Li Changsheng did. The wizard tribe had a kind of wizard soldier technique that could refine a person into an existence similar to the living dead. They would have intelligence, but their body would not feel any pain at all. Furthermore, they would use a special method to force these people to possess a certain amount of magic power. Then, they could use the magic power of these people to set up a formation and concentrate it on one person to increase the master's strength. This method was extremely risky. If a person was not strong enough, they would not be able to withstand the pain of being refined into a wizard soldier and would die immediately. Therefore, these people used the method of goo cultivation to select people with high potential to become wizard soldier seeds. In an instant, Li Changsheng had figured out the crux of the matter. At this moment, a young man weakly tugged at Li Changsheng's collar. "Big brother, is there poison in the food?" It turned out that the young man was in a daze when he saw Li Changsheng holding the steamed bun and smelling it. He was originally a little hungry and was about to reach out to grab the steamed bun, but he couldn't help but worry. "You're a girl?" Li Changsheng didn't look carefully just now. When he heard the voice now, he couldn't help but reveal a surprised expression. Women disguised as men were usually only seen in television dramas. If a woman disguised as a man, it would be difficult for her not to give herself away. Of course, there were definitely such tricks in the martial arts world, but they would only be used for some special purposes. The young man didn't seem to expect that Li Changsheng would discover him as soon as he opened his mouth. He was stunned and then whispered, "How did you know?" "Hee. With your makeup skills, I can recognize you at a glance. There's no poison in the food. You can eat it without worry." Li Changsheng silently brushed the food in front of the young man. A blue smoke floated up from the food and dissipated into the air. The smoke was very thin. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't notice it at all. Only then did the young woman let out a long sigh of relief. She was obviously very hungry. She grabbed the steamed bun and wolfed it down. When he was done eating, he saw Li Changsheng staring at him. Only then did he reveal an embarrassed smile. If one looked carefully, the young woman's appearance was very beautiful. She could be said to be fair-skinned and beautiful. However, it was unknown why she was disguised as a man. She seemed to have guessed Li Changsheng's question. She wiped her mouth and took the initiative to speak. "Girls aren't allowed to show their faces in our village, but I heard that the outside world is very magical. There are skyscrapers, cars, houses, and all kinds of household appliances. It's countless times better than our village. I've always wanted to go out and see the world, but my father wouldn't let me. So I had to disguise myself as a man and run out. Who knew that after I came out, I would find that I had no money? I planned to go to the station to ask about the way back to our village. I didn't expect to see darkness. When I woke up, I was already here. So that's how it is." Li Changsheng smiled as he thought to himself. It's obvious that those fellows are trying to report on their mission. They're just randomly capturing people. Otherwise, with such a thin and weak body, it's simply impossible for a girl to make a shaman weapon. How could a delicate girl endure the torture of refining a shaman weapon? "Big brother, we were caught by the people of the witchcraft cult. I'm afraid we're going to die here. The success rate of refining wizard weapons is extremely low." As she spoke, a trace of sadness flashed in the young woman's eyes. "You know about the witchcraft cult?" This surprised Li Changsheng a little. The young woman nodded. "I know. Very few people in Miaojiang don't know about the witchcraft cult. Every year, the witchcraft cult captures many people to refine wizard weapons. Usually, they capture people from other places, but sometimes there aren't enough people from other places, so they use the locals to make up the numbers. This has been no secret for a long time. I've been here since I was a child, and I've heard many people say that 9 out of 10 people who are captured to be wizard weapons will die. Only the qualified one can survive. In the past, there was a person from the village next to ours who was captured and became a wizard weapon of the witchcraft cult. When he came back, even the village leader had to salute him respectfully. So that's how it is. Li Chongqing smiled. At this time, he saw a brawny man who was patrolling outside the iron bars. When he saw the two people who were talking, he couldn't help but rub his eyes. Then his eyes lit up. Oh, there's actually a young girl. She's quite pretty. As he spoke, he turned and left. Not long after, the bald Guadagno was brought over. Boss, look, there's a beautiful girl among the people sent over this time. She's just right for us to eat. Guadagno asked his subordinates to open the iron bars and then signaled with his eyes. Immediately, two brawny men went in and walked toward the girl. The girl was so scared that her face turned pale instantly. She stepped back, but there was already a wall behind her. Chapter 436. What are you doing? The girl's face was pale. In this kind of place, there was no one to respond to her cries. If she were to be raped by a few strong men, she would rather die. But sometimes, death really became an extravagant hope. The two strong men's faces showed excitement, because she didn't know that the more she resisted, the more it would arouse their bestial nature. Soon, the two strong men grabbed her arm and pulled her out of the cell. The bald Guadagno stretched out his hand and hooked the girl's chin, revealing his big yellow teeth. I didn't expect that such a beautiful girl would let me have a taste first. Looks like she's still a virgin. The girl's screams made the few young men unable to bear it. Finally, a young man hesitated for a moment, stepped forward and said loudly, "Let her go." Who would have thought that the burly men outside didn't pay any attention to him? Immediately, the young man rushed out and wanted to pull the few strong men away. The bald man kicked his hand away and kicked him 7 or 8 meters away. The two burly men immediately went up and gave the youth a round of punches and kicks. Seeing that the young man was beaten to his last breath, he asked, "Are you going to play the hero this time?" The young man seemed to realize his situation and hurriedly shook his head. No. Ha ha ha. The brawny man let out a savage laugh. What kind of trash are they getting this time? Last time, there were a few hot-blooded men. It seems that it will be very difficult for our cell to win tonight. This is obviously that guy with the surname. He randomly caught people to make up the numbers. Otherwise, how could he catch that little girl? But it's good for us. Guadagno chuckled and ordered his men, "Bring this chick to my room outside. I don't have a hobby of live broadcasting." Then, boss, you're finished. One of his men hurriedly stepped forward. Humph. We'll talk about it later. Hearing Guadagno's words, the few strong men's faces immediately fell. However, Guadagno was obviously quite a prestigious person among them. They were dissatisfied with Guadagno's behavior of wanting to take the girl for himself, but they didn't dare to say anything. The girl's eyes couldn't help but reveal a look of despair. Who can help me in a place like this? Li Chongqing's face subconsciously appeared in her mind. In this kind of place, Li Chongqing was the first friend she had made. Perhaps they could not be considered friends, but for some reason, she had a feeling that only Li Chongqing could save her. Wait a minute. At this moment, a faint voice sounded. What? Are you looking for a beating? The brawny man blurted out, thinking that it was still the young man from before. When he saw that it was Li Chongqing, he smiled coldly and said, "Another reckless person. Isn't this the guy who woke up right after he was caught? Brat, I advise you to mind your own business." Hearing the other party's words, Li Chongqing did not pay any attention to them. Instead, he looked toward the bald Guadagno. "Let her go, or you'll regret it." Hearing Li Chongqing's words, Guadagno could not help laughing out loud. "What did you say? Hee. This brat is crazy enough. Looks like he has some skills." Guadagno could be considered to have seen countless people. The fact that Li Chongqing woke up right after he was caught made him keep an eye on Li Chongqing. "Huzi, go up and teach him the rules." Hearing Guadagno's words, a brawny man clenched his fists and took a few steps forward. He stood in front of Li Changsheng and looked down at Li Changsheng. Huzi, be gentle. Don't kill him with one punch. Let me have some fun, too. A brawny man next to him laughed out loud. Yeah, we don't have any capable people in the first cell. If you kill him, we'll be embarrassed again in tonight's duel. Hearing this, Huzi sneered. That will depend on whether he could take a punch from me or not. As he said that, he pointed at Li Changsheng. If you don't die with one punch, I'll let you go. As soon as he finished speaking, before Huzi could make a move, Li Changsheng suddenly took a step forward. His fist was like an arrow leaving the bow. It went straight for the brawny man's chest. Crack! The brawny man, who was 9 meters tall, was directly sent flying by this punch. He hit the wall behind him, and his face showed a painful and ferocious expression. After sending the brawny man flying with one punch, Li Changsheng did not chase after him. Instead, he stood quietly where he was. The brawny men around had already shown vigilance. Even Guadagno was no longer calm. He stared at Li Changsheng. After a long time, Guadagno took a deep breath and said, "Boy, what's your name? I didn't know that you were a martial artist." Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng replied coldly and then looked at the girl. "Can you let her go now?" It was not easy for Guadagno to find such a beautiful girl. Naturally, he was not willing to let her go. However, when he met Li Changsheng's beast-like eyes, he finally nodded. "Yes, now. If you can win the final match of the 7 cells tonight, I promise not to touch her. If not, then don't blame me." After saying that, he waved his hand. The 2 brawny men had no choice but to let the girl go. Li Changsheng wanted to go back to the dungeon, but Guadagno waved his hand and said, "Come with me first." As he said that, he took the lead and walked away. The brawny man pushed the girl into the dungeon and locked her. "What a beautiful girl." The brawny man sighed. "How can boss not touch her?" "What do you know?" Another brawny man next to him curled his lips. "This kid sent Huzi flying with a punch. I'm afraid that he has already practiced martial arts to a very powerful level. People like him have a 70 to 80% chance of standing out in the trial and becoming a witch soldier. Once he becomes a witch soldier, his status will increase greatly. Brother Gua is smart. If he befriends him now and gives him face, he will be able to form a good relationship with him in the future. Otherwise, once he becomes a big shot and becomes a witch soldier of an elder, we won't have a good time if he starts to stir up trouble. Moreover, you know how much reward our superiors will give us if we can become a witch king in one of the cells. After listening to his companion's analysis, he was completely convinced. After walking out of the dungeon with Guadagno pointed to a room next to the dungeon and said, "You don't have to stay in the dungeon anymore. This is your room. You also have a certain area where you can move freely. As long as you can win the competition tonight, your treatment will increase. Of course, if you lose, then only death will await you." Li Changsheng nodded and opened the door. He saw that the room was quite clean. Compared to the damp dungeon, it was obviously equivalent to a high-class 5-star hotel. "Can you let that girl come out and stay?" Li Changsheng asked. He was a little worried that the girl would be humiliated by those brawny men on a whim. "I was wondering why you would stand out to save the damsel in distress. It turns out that you have taken a fancy to that girl. If you want her to accompany you, I will let her out. If you can't, then you'll be a clay Buddha crossing the river." After finishing his words, he turned around and left. Li Changsheng walked into the room. He saw that there were a few other rooms in the surroundings. There were actually some people inside. They were obviously seated contestants who were given special treatment like him. Chapter 437. He didn't expect the witchcraft cult to be so arrogant as to capture people everywhere to refine witchcraft weapons. In fact, a long time ago, when human rights were almost non-existent, the act of capturing people to refine witchcraft weapons was considered a deviant practice that everyone had the right to punish. Now that the world had changed greatly, the witchcraft cult still dared to do this. It was absolutely bold of them. Li Changsheng originally wanted to come to the witchcraft cult to find the evil Yin Vein and stop the witchcraft cult from finding trouble with the major families in the capital. Originally, he just wanted to give the witchcraft cult some deterrence, but now it seemed that he didn't need to show mercy. The witchcraft cult's behavior was simply outrageous. Li Changsheng had the intention to kill. He walked into the room and sat cross-legged on the bed. Li Changsheng began to carefully sense the evil yin qi in this place. He closed his eyes and quietly sensed it while circulating the 9 revolutions of the celestial demon in his body. Sure enough, a cold aura gathered from all directions and drilled into his body. This was the evil yin qi, one of the 72 kinds of evil qi in heaven and earth. Ordinary cultivators couldn't absorb evil yin qi. After absorbing it, not only would it not improve their strength, but it would also damage their bodies. However, the 9 revolutions of the celestial demon that Li Changsheng cultivated relied on this kind of evil yin qi to temper his body. This was also the biggest difference between the 9 revolutions of the celestial demon and other cultivation methods. Li Changsheng sat on the bed to cultivate and gradually entered a good state. A few hours later, he suddenly opened his eyes. Although his current divine sense was very weak, after releasing it, it could still cover a distance of several thousand meters. Even the slightest movement within a few thousand meters could not escape his senses. He sensed that someone was approaching just now. Sure enough, the door was soon opened. Guadagnia walked in and said coldly, "Let's go. Today is the first round of the trial. Whether you can survive or not will depend on your strength." Li Changsheng knew that there would be a trial battle today, so he wasn't surprised. He followed Guadagnia until they left the prison area and came out of a gate to an open area. Guadagnia didn't seem to be afraid that Li Changsheng would escape midway and didn't put anything on him to restrict him. When they reached a remote location, Guadagnia suddenly stopped and handed a porcelain bottle to Li Changsheng. "There's a pill here that can stimulate your potential. Take it first. It can increase your chances of survival." Li Changsheng nodded and put away the bottle. Guadagnia didn't say anything when he saw that Li Changsheng didn't take it immediately. He thought that Li Changsheng wanted to wait for a while before taking it. He led Li Changsheng through several buildings and finally arrived at a square. Both sides of the square were already filled with people. Judging from the clothes they were wearing, they should be the disciples of the witchcraft cult. After arriving at the square, many people looked over. Someone shouted, "Guadagnia, is your cell number 1 going to lose again today? You've lost a few rounds in a row. If you can't send out a wizard soldier, I'm afraid it won't be long before you lose your job." Guadagnia snorted and led Li Changsheng directly to the center of the square. There was a high platform in the center. On the platform, there were already 3 people sitting in a huge iron cage. They were resting with their eyes closed. They didn't care about the surrounding people who looked at them as if they were animals. "You can go in too," Guadagnia said. "The 7 cells will send out a total of 7 people. The final winner will be the king of venomous worms tonight. The remaining 6 will be eliminated." Li Changsheng nodded. Without saying anything else, he walked straight in. Different from others, because it was his first time here, he stood in front of the iron cage and looked at the crowd outside. There were more than 500 people. Among them, those who were qualified to sit were wearing clothes that were obviously much better than those who were standing. Obviously, the witchcraft cult showed everyone's position and level according to the style of their clothes. There were 7 chairs in the front row. At this time, there was no one on it. Li Changsheng stood there. Many people outside looked at him as if he was a monkey. It seems that this is a new trial taker from dungeon number 1. Look at this guy, he's so skinny. I'm afraid he'll be the first to die. Guadagnia has cultivated a few king of venomous worms in the past and was rewarded by several elders. His luck has been getting worse in the past 2 years. In the midst of the discussion, 2 more people appeared. They opened the iron cage and walked in. After the 2 people came in, they glanced at the people inside. Their eyes were fierce. Obviously, it wasn't their first time participating in such a competition. 5 people from the 7 cells had appeared. There were still 2 people who hadn't arrived. Just as Li Changsheng was about to sit down and wait, there was a sudden noise in the square. A man in neat clothes walked towards the high platform. The man wasn't tall, but there was a scar on his face. He looked extremely ferocious. As soon as he appeared, there was a cheer in the square. Centipede, 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 you must win. Guadagni's expression changed drastically when he saw the man. He walked to the iron bars and whispered to Li Chongsheng. This is Centipede from dungeon number 7. He has won 9 rounds in a row. It's said that as long as he wins this round, he can become a witch soldier. Actually, the Grand Elder has taken a liking to him since a long time ago. It's very likely that he'll be cultivated into a witch general. Although a witch general isn't a direct disciple of the sect, he's the Grand Elder's right-hand man. His status is even higher than the inner sect disciples. I'm afraid that you'll definitely die if you meet him today. Kid, I can only say that you're unlucky. You're on your own now. Guadagni sighed. Just as Guadagni said, as soon as Centipede appeared, even the disciples sitting below took the initiative to greet him. After Centipede appeared, the most important people in the square finally appeared. 7 figures appeared one after another and sat on the chairs in front. Every one of them had an extraordinary aura. They should be the higher-ups of the witch god cult. What made Li Chongsheng surprised was that there was a woman among them. She was rather young and was only in her 20s. After she appeared, even the other 6 people took the initiative to salute her. Only after hearing the discussion did he know that she was actually the daughter of the witch god cult's cult leader. Miss Suyu, have you really decided? The old man sitting in the center asked. That woman nodded her head. Of course. Since I, Suyu, want to recruit a witch general, then naturally I want the strongest one. Centipede is the witch general that the Grand Elder has chosen, and Belly Snake is the witch general that I've chosen. Today, I'll let them decide the victor. Hearing the woman's words, that Grand Elder sighed. Victory or defeat is life and death. However, since Miss insists on letting them decide the victor, then I also have nothing to be reluctant about. After he finished speaking, a man whose entire body was covered in a black robe walked out from the woman's side. He walked towards the cage on the high platform with large strides. In the instant that black-robed man walked into the cage, the face of the knife-scarred man, named Centipede, instantly revealed a vigilant expression. As for the other 4 cultivators in the surroundings, they already began to tremble in front of the two. Chapter 438. The moment the black-clothed and black-robed man walked into the iron cage, there was a wave of discussion in the field. Viper has already won 9 matches in a row, and Centipede has also won 9 matches in a row. They are rare challengers who can directly become shaman generals in our witchcraft cult. One of them is destined to die in today's battle. What a pity. In my opinion, the most pitiful ones are the remaining 5 people. They don't stand a chance against these 2 people. The other 5 people are just accompanying the crown prince. There is nothing pitiful about them. They are the goo worms that nurture the goo king. They can only blame themselves for not being strong enough. Li Chongsheng stood there and felt many gazes on him. However, those gazes were mostly filled with pity. The remaining 4 people were scared out of their wits. One of them begged, Lord Viper, Lord Centipede, we are just ordinary testers. How would we dare to compete with the 2 of you for the Goo King? Please be magnanimous and let us leave. Indeed, there was no fairness in this kind of competition. It was only because the daughter of the witchcraft cult's cult leader, Suyu, and the Great Elder decided to decide on the strongest shaman general at the last minute. Therefore, they forcefully replaced the previous 2 spots. Trash! The centipede raised its leg and kicked the man who was begging it. The guy who had a fierce look on his face when he entered the arena was kicked 7 or 8 meters away. He fell to the ground and vomited blood. He couldn't stop it. Obviously, he wouldn't be able to survive. Hiss! Instantly, the field was filled with the sound of people sucking in cold air. Such strength was simply terrifying. Even the inner disciples of the witchcraft cult didn't have such attacking power. With just 1 kick, he had severely injured a person. When the other 4 saw this, they were so scared that they couldn't stop trembling. Clean up these obstructing fellows. Then, we will have a duel. Viper, who was wearing a black robe, said coldly. In the eyes of the two people, the other participants were just stones by the roadside. They had to kick them aside to avoid being a hindrance. Centipede, who had a scar on his face, didn't say anything. However, he started to move in the next moment. His figure turned into an afterimage as he rushed towards the nearest challenger. The trial taker was unwilling to let his fate be sealed like this. He suddenly leaped up, raised his fist, and rushed towards Viper. It was obvious that the other party had survived several trials. His strength was not bad, and his punch was quite powerful. However, just as he approached the centipede's body, he was kicked in the chest by the centipede, and he was sent flying while vomiting blood. Before he landed on the ground, he saw that his neck was already hanging down. It was a one-hit kill. Amazing. Luckily, I bet on centipede to win. I told you that a centipede is stronger than a viper. I hope I can make a killing this time. Another round of discussion could be heard from below. No wonder so many people came to watch. It turned out that they had placed bets. At the same time, the viper and centipede pounced on the remaining two people. The two wanted to resist, but it was useless. The snake and the centipede were both being raised as Magus generals. Even if they succeeded in the final trial, they would only be Magus soldiers. There was a world of difference between them and Magus soldiers. After dealing with the two of them, the centipede and the viper's gazes landed on Li Changsheng almost at the same time. The reason why they were the last to attack Li Changsheng was probably because they saw that Li Changsheng's body was thin and weak. They thought that he was the easiest to deal with. They wanted to take care of the difficult bone first. Facing the two of them, Li Changsheng knew that it was his turn next. Therefore, he patted the creases on his clothes, straightened his body, and said in a cold voice, "Which one of you will go first?" The moment he said that, the centipede and the viper were slightly stunned. The audience below the stage was also confused. What's going on? This guy actually dares to take the initiative to challenge two people who are about to become Magus generals. Kid, you know that you're going to die, so you're deliberately mystifying things. The centipede squinted his eyes. He was about to attack when he suddenly frowned. This was because he felt a sense of danger from Li Changsheng. The feeling came out of nowhere, and a solemn expression appeared on his face. He had a special ability since he was young, which was his extremely sharp sixth sense. He could foresee danger in advance, which had allowed him to escape several life-threatening situations. At this moment, the feeling appeared again. Although Li Changsheng looked weak and small, and it was his first time participating in the trial, the feeling made him not dare to attack. What's wrong, centipede? Are you going soft? Are you reluctant to attack? Beside him, Viper, who was covered in a black robe, spoke with a mocking tone. I'm going soft. Viper, if you have guts, kill him. As the centipede could not see through Li Changsheng at the moment, he decided not to take the risk in the end. If Li Changsheng was a guy who hid his strength, and he rashly attacked Li Changsheng and was injured, he would be in danger in the upcoming battle with Viper. In this ring, there was no winning or losing, only life and death. The winner lived, and the loser died. Therefore, he decided to defeat Viper first. Viper looked contemptuously at Li Changsheng's position and sneered. Just an ant. Since you're not attacking, I'm also too lazy to attack. Why don't we decide the winner first? After saying that, Viper's body turned into a black shadow and pounced on the centipede. The two of them quickly fought, and it was a collision of pure physical strength. The two of them showed their terrifying martial Dao strength as soon as they exchanged blows. It could be said that every punch hit the flesh. After fighting for more than 20 moves, Viper suddenly retreated a few steps, widening the distance between him and the centipede. Then, between his hands, there was a cloud of black fog. The moment the black fog appeared in front of him, it caused a commotion below. Viper actually learned magic. Isn't this the bloodthirsty technique of our witchcraft cult? Eldest Miss Suyu, who was in the first row, had a proud expression on her face. She looked at the first elder beside her and said, "How is it, First Elder? You didn't expect it, right?" Not only is Viper's physical strength strong, his cultivation talent is also very high. He already learned the witchcraft cult's magic. If he didn't become a witch soldier, he would be qualified to become a true disciple of our witchcraft cult. When the black fog appeared in Viper's hands, the first elder's face had already changed color. Hearing Su Yu's words, he couldn't help but sigh. Refining a person who can stand shoulder to shoulder with a true disciple to be your witch general, Eldest Miss really has a good method. From a moment the other party used the black fog, the first elder knew that it was very difficult to win against the centipede today. Sure enough, in the next moment, the black fog in Viper's hands was driven by his fist. It formed a poisonous snake's shadow in the air and rushed towards the centipede with a whistling sound. The centipede raised his hands to block, but the moment he touched the black fog, his body flew out and landed on the ground 7 to 8 meters away. He spat out blood from his mouth. He was defeated in one move. Chapter 439. In the beginning, when Centipede and Viper fought, both of them were almost evenly matched. Who knew that after Viper used magic, he defeated Centipede in just one move? At this moment, Centipede fell 7 to 8 meters away, spitting out blood from his mouth. He looked at Viper with shock and disbelief. One could see that his whole face had turned red, and his lips had turned dark purple, as if he was poisoned. Go to hell. After Centipede's body fell to the ground, Viper's figure chased after him like a shadow. Then he kicked Centipede's body. Bang! Centipede's body rubbed against the ground and flew back 7 to 8 meters, hitting the iron fence. The blood he spat out contained fragments of his internal organs. Obviously, he couldn't survive. Viper, I didn't expect you to have master magic. However, if you kill me, you might not be able to become the Goo King today. After saying that, the centipede looked in Li Chongqing's direction and let out a loud laugh. Then its head drooped down and it died just like that. Below the high platform, the eldest miss of the witchcraft cult, Su Yu smiled. Great elder, how is it? I have good eyesight. I can see Viper's potential at a glance. The great elder's face showed a bit of a wry smile. In the witchcraft cult, a witch general might not be born in a few years. Originally, he thought that he was very lucky to find a talent like Centipede. Who would have thought that he would encounter an expert like Viper? For this round, I accept my loss wholeheartedly. Let Viper deal with that kid. Today's competition will come to an end. The great elder sighed. In the past, the trial of the 7 cells couldn't avoid a fierce battle. But today, with Viper's move, it was already settled. Just a newcomer from Cell 1. Viper can pinch him to death with one finger. Eldest Miss, Su Yu said coldly. But today, this miss is happy. Viper, stop. Spare this kid's life. Hearing Su Yu's words, Guadaniu, who had already given up on Li Chongqing, suddenly showed a happy expression. He didn't expect that there would be such a turn of events. Even many people below the stage were sighing that Li Chongqing's luck was good. This brat is really lucky. Young Miss's words are equivalent to saving his life. But come to think of it, with belly snake strength, how could this kid be worthy of him making a move? Discussions broke out among the crowd. It's a pity that I'm going to lose everything I bet on the centipede. That centipede is too trashy. He was defeated so easily. To think that I thought he could become the Goo King. There were also many people who were filled with righteous indignation. After all, that was RMB. Su Yu was Belly Snake's master. Originally, Belly Snake didn't dare to violate Su Yu's words. Who would have thought that after Su Yu's words fell, Belly Snake, who was covered in a black robe, shook his head and said, Eldest Miss, I don't agree to spare his life. I want to kill him. As soon as Viper's words came out, the crowd immediately went into an uproar. Although Belly Snake had won the trial and proved its potential, no matter how ferocious or powerful a dog was, it still had to listen to its master. Su Yu was his master. After Su Yu expressed her position, he actually dared to not listen. This was simply an act of insubordination. Sure enough, even Su Yu's face became gloomy. Belly Snake, do you know what you're saying? Hearing eldest Miss's words, Belly Snake hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "Eldest Miss, it's not that I want to go against your intention. It's just that this person, I have a reason to make a move against him." Originally, Belly Snake didn't put Li Changsheng in his eyes. But at that time, before the centipede died, he said that he might not be able to obtain today's victory. Moreover, his gaze was looking at Li Changsheng. This made Belly Snake faintly have some conjectures in his heart. Belly Snake was a very proud person. Since he wanted to become the Goo King, then he must prove that he was the strongest. Since the centipede said that, then he would challenge Li Changsheng and kill Li Changsheng. Only then would he be at ease. Hearing Belly Snake's words, although Suyu didn't know why, but she really doted on this general a lot. Hence, she nodded and said, "All right, then I take back my words just now. Thank you, Miss, for understanding." Belly Snake bowed to Suyu. People with strength would always get special preferential treatment. If other shaman generals dared to go against Suyu's words, not to mention forgiveness, Suyu would probably directly send them to death. Belly Snake turned his head and looked at Li Changsheng. Although his entire person was shrouded in a black robe, one could still detect a pair of cold eyes like a snake. "You really want to make a move against me?" Li Changsheng smiled and didn't speak. Whether it was the death of the 4 challengers or the battle between the centipede and Belly Snake, from beginning to end, Li Changsheng's face was incomparably indifferent. He was just a bystander. "Why are you afraid?" Belly Snake's voice was sinister, making people couldn't help but have goosebumps. "I'm not afraid, but I'm advising you. Life is precious. Don't court death." Li Changsheng said faintly. "What did you say?" Belly Snake was obviously stunned. He originally thought that Li Changsheng would be trembling in fear when he heard that he wanted to make a move against him. But he didn't expect that not only was Li Changsheng not afraid, but he also seemed to have a fearless expression. "Kid, it seems that this is your first time participating in the trial. You still don't know my ability." Belly Snake let out a sneer and clenched his fist. "As long as I make a move, I can take your life in an instant." "Really?" Li Changsheng curled his lips, then suddenly took a step forward and punched the opponent. Boom, boom. A sound like muffled thunder echoed. The punch was like an arrow that left the bow. The power was fierce and surging. Belly Snake didn't expect that Li Changsheng would suddenly make a move. Moreover, his move was so powerful. Just as he wanted to block, Li Changsheng's fist had already imprinted on his chest. Bang! A loud sound echoed. Viper was sent flying backward. When he landed on the ground, a part of his chest had caved in. He could not stop coughing out blood from his mouth. It was a miserable sight. Immediately afterward, Li Changsheng continued to move forward and stepped on Belly Snake's lower abdomen. Pieces of internal organs were spat out. It was similar to the battle between him and Centipede. It was just that he was the one who beat people at that time, and now he was the one who was beaten. At this moment, the surroundings fell into silence. Suyu, who was sitting in the first row, had already stood up in shock. The other 6 higher-ups of the witchcraft cult also widened their eyes. It was so fast that everyone didn't have time to react. At this time, Li Changsheng picked up the foot that was stepping on his chest and said coldly, "It seems that you're not convinced. Then I'll give you another chance. Use the spell that you used to deal with Centipede." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.